interesting session. We introducing you to the tech space and also telling you about the global opportunities you get from, being a tech talent. So those are the things that we're going to be talking about today. And we've brought in, some of the smartest people to speak to you on how you can move on to become a global tech talent. Now, now before we go into the main thing here, please, if you're just joining us, we're starting immediately. We still have quite a number of people that will be joining us as we go on. But well, if you're just joining, just put in your location, your name and your location. Don't worry, I just need your location. It's actually just your location, just to for us to know where you're joining in from. Okay. So I usually tell people that having a tech skill is something that will really set you apart from every other person out there. Okay, having a tech skill. All right. And it's something that has changed my life personally. And I'm always going around preaching the gospel as to learn a skill. Even if you're in Nigeria, you don't plan to relocate, you don't plan to do anything, learn a skill, a tech skill, not a skill. A skill is Babin. Babin also is a skill. Well, learn a tech skill. All right. And the reason why I'm saying this is what we're going to be discussing today. It's very simple. The reason why we're discussing this is tech is a global skill. Now, you learn Python in Nigeria, or you learn Python in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in South Africa. Python you learn in Africa is the same Python they're using in the United States. There's no discrimination. All right. The Excel, the Power BI, the Tableaus, and every other tool that you use in the tech space. All right. You learn it one way or the other, regardless of wherever you learn it. All right. You are going to be competing globally. All right. So we have people that are getting jobs outside the country, getting jobs remotely, working remotely. Currently, I work for firms in the UK remotely. I work for firms in the US remotely. I've never been to the US before. How am I able to work for companies in the US if not for the skills that I have? But today is not about myself. Today is not going to be about me. All right, we've brought in a global tech talent. Really, that's the UK. If you are based in the UK or you've heard about the Tech Stream program, which is called the Global Tech Talent, we have a global tech talent. All right, within us today. That's with the name of Michael. Michael is going to be coming in to share his own experience on how he was able to become a tech talent, apply for the visa, get the global tech talent visa, and currently, he's currently living and working in the UK. Also, we have Oluwaseun Komolafe, all right, a business intelligence developer, also based off in the UK, coming to talk about global tech talent. Okay. So, it's a sweet career path. You guys don't understand. And, I was speaking to one of our previous participants a couple of, just about a week ago. And, the guy was so, it was so happy. It was so happy to speak to me. It was like, if you you don't know what 10 Analytics has done to me. All right. He said, you really don't know what 10 Analytics has done for me. This guy is based off in Nigeria, where he works for a firm based off in the US. He's working in Nigeria, but works for a company based in the US. And he was sharing his testimonial as to, he has built a dashboard in Power BI. They never knew they could even deploy Power BI. So he was able to build a report, build a dashboard, and he put it up to Power BI service. And the CEO, the CFO were looking at the reports and were so impressed that this is, this is analytics they're using within the organization, thinking that they never had data and all that. All right, but he was able to, put it up there. All right, and eventually was able to get, well, not really a bonus, a performance review, and I was able to get like a more or less like a thank you. All right, and he got like a few dollars, and he called immediately to say that if he just a small thing I did, see what they gave me in my office. All right. And I was laughing. I was like, man, just keep improving, just keep doing more, implementing new initiatives and all that. So you see, these are the things that we tell people that you just learn a skill. You are going to be competing not locally, not within Nigeria, not within Africa. You're going to be competing with, top tech talent across the world. All right. Well, anyway, that's just about me. Okay. I'm going to be bringing in our speakers. Okay. We have very smart individuals. We have Shiv on the call. We also have Michael on the call. So I'm going to be bringing in Michael, first of all. Michael, do you want to say hi to people? Do you want to say yeah, yeah? That's yeah, you.
Hello, Efemina. Thank you for having me here. And hello, everyone. It's nice to be on this call with you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Michael, for taking our time. It's brilliant to have you on the call also. So
Yeah.
I'm also going to be bringing in Phil Komalafe. Phil Komalafe, if you're here, do you want to unmute yourself, turn on your video, let's see your face so we can get
Hi
started.
everyone.
Hello, Phil.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, it's good. It's good to meet you. It's good to have you here also. Thanks a lot for taking our time on the Saturday to speak to our audience. We still have quite a number of people that are going to join in. All right, still have quite a number. We're just getting started. All right. Uh, so before we get started, I'd like to do something. I'd like to find out if we have new people on the call. Okay, so we can just run through it. Okay. So if you're joining us for the first time, okay, please put a one in the chat. Just one, number one. Put it in the chat. Okay. But it's good to see you guys. I can see you guys are, see the freshness. This is the reason why people should be in the tech space. You guys are too fresh. Do you guys use snow to bathe? Do you get snow that you use to wash your face?
Nice one.
All right. Okay, so we have a lot of people joining us for the first time. All right, do you know what? We have our usher in the house. All right. So if you look to your left, okay, if you look to your left, you would see that there's an usher waiting for you, raising up their hand. Okay, they will direct. I could see Sheo is looking for the usher.
You caught me, definitely.
All right, there's no usher, but anyways, we'd like to welcome the first timers in the house. Okay, so just to reiterate what we stand for at Analytics. Okay, so myself and Adeza is also on the call. Wait, Adeza, do you want to join us quickly? Okay, yes, yeah. Let me add him to Spotlight. So myself and Adeza started Analytics just about 3 years this month actually. All right. And and the whole lesson for us to start into analytics is to bring awareness to Africans across the world, not just Africans, not just Nigerians. We started off with just Nigerians, but we saw that it was bigger than Nigerians. And we wanted to get that awareness out to people across Africa to tell them that they can actually learn tech, all right, and transition from whatever degree, whatever occupation they had before into the tech space. So, we've been pushing the narrative. And first thing is even awareness. People don't know they can do this. People actually don't think they can actually learn tech, within a duration of time and transition into an entirely new career path. And that's the narrative we're trying to push out there to people across the world, Africans across the world, not just Nigerians, but literally people across the world. So it's good to have you guys on board. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay. So it's going to be like a discussion session. We're going to just be asking questions and interacting with one another. All right. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay. So first thing is introduction. Okay, Michael. Majority of the people on the call, this is the first time they're seeing you. Phil also, some of the guys, this is the first time they're seeing you. So in terms of introduction, let's get to know you first. So I'll start with Michael. Okay, let me start with the lady in the house, Shil. Sorry about that, Michael. Okay. Let me start with Shil, okay? So Shil, just a little bit of introduction, educational background, and maybe how you were able to transition from I don't know what your education was. How were you able to move from education to becoming a business intelligence developer?
Okay, sure. So my background is actually in computer science. So my first degree was in computer science, which was a while back. And then after that, I had this bright idea that I wanted to become a pilot. So I went to do that. I really wanted to do that. Wanted to do that since I was a kid. So I went for it. And then I think that was early 2021. I decided that I think it was just that plus, different things happening back home. I was like, okay, maybe it's time to pick up this tech thing. And tech started to become more popular. And I'm like, okay, of all the things in the tech space, what's the thing I currently find intriguing? So I started doing research about data analytics, and then I decided to pursue a master's degree. So I got a master's degree in data analytics. I finished last year. And I searched different options. I considered the UK, Canada, and I decided, what, I'll UK process was really straightforward, to be honest. So I just went for that. And then shortly after, I started working as a business intelligence developer.
Fantastic. I think yours is a bit streamlined from Python. I don't know that Python aspect. We'll talk about that as we go on, okay? But it's interesting. All right. Let me move over to you, Michael. Michael, your own experience, okay? And let's take it.
Yeah. Thank you. My experience is slightly different because right from when I was little, I've always known that I was going to be in tech. I remember when I finished my secondary school, and I didn't like get admission into the university I wanted at the time, and they were offering me industrial chemistry. Yeah. And then my dad was like, "Yeah, take it." Just I said no. I'm going to wait. I don't mind having to write JAMB again. This is what I want to do. And yeah, so I studied information technology, and currently I am a senior technical support engineer with over 4 years experience. And yeah, I have a software engineering background and then transitioned into technical support engineering role. And whenever I say this, people tend to get surprised that, why did you transition from a software engineering background to a technical support engineering role? But for me, it's more about passion, passionate about talking to people, and the role of a technical support engineer gives me the opportunity to combine, the soft skill and as well as the technical skill. So yeah,
So
that's
you
pretty much about
technical
me.
support. So you have a blend of business analysis in your role, essentially, correct?
Yeah, sort of. And then DevOps. So my experience hovers within cloud, DevOps, business intelligence, and technical support.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I think we have some of the smartest people on the call today. Even their English alone, I'm already blown away. I won't lie to you. Are you guys Nigerians? Well, okay, yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant, smart professionals, and that's the reason why we always bring the best of the crops, to come and speak to our people and tell them, what is attainable in the industry. All right. So I'm going to move back to Sheo and just talk about, your experience, how you're able to pivot. All right. Why data in the first place? Why BI developer? Why data? Let's talk about that.
Okay, sure. I think I had started to look at data a bit in aviation. So one of the things I used to do was we used to look at the downloads of after each flight, and that's more of an engineering thing. So I used to find myself, just in the engineering office, just asking a lot of questions. It was I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure the engineers enjoyed it as much. Well, I just always found, myself asking a lot of questions. So what happens with this? What's this data point talking about? What's that about? And it just got me interested. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do with this afterwards? And they say, yeah, we send it to the manufacturers, they analyze it and all of that. And I'm like, okay, what happens then? Like, yeah, I didn't get any interesting answers. I'm like, okay, there's something to do here. So I think for me, the big thing was finding a link between where I was coming from and, data. So I felt, okay, I could, this is somewhere to look at. This is a potential problem area to solve in the future. Let's see let's see what I can do. So that was what sparked my interest. That was to answer the question, why data? So I wanted to look more into analyzing, air crash investigations and, in that field. So that's why data. Why business analytics, or why business intelligence? I picked up that interest during my master's. So I think in the course of my master's, I started using Tableau. Most of the tools, I'll just say this here, most of the tools I learned with regards to business intelligence, data analytics, it was during my master's degree. I did not know a lot about data. I just knew the word data analytics. And then if anyone asked me, what does that mean? I'd studied the answer. I had this fantastic answer ready to give anybody. But when it comes to the technical aspects and the tools, I only started learning that during the master's program. So I feel like that's something important to say. Like if there's anyone here that's just starting out, you don't have to come in with a lot of knowledge. You don't have to come in a lot of technical knowledge. Yeah, you can start where you are. Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. I think I love that answer. Yeah, I think you've also addressed one critical thing about people thinking that they need so much to get started. And I
Yeah.
usually tell people it's get started, not to become an expert or to become a strong leader in the subject area, to get your foot into the door. So I think I love what you said about, getting started. You don't need too much. All right, so I'm going to move over to Michael. Michael, why the tech space? Why, technical support and all that? Walk us through it. Yeah.
Yes. So for me, it's more of it's always been my interest. Like so I growing up, I always find myself playing around with my dad's laptop, and then even when it was like stop it, I'm like I'll still go back there, just to I was always on Microsoft Word playing around with Excel, and that was where I started to develop the interest, and I am very I'm very passionate about being in a space where I can be a problem solver. And being in the tech industry gives me the opportunity to look at problems and be able to be innovative, to be creative, particularly in my role. Every day we get to see different issues, and then you just have to continue thinking what are the options, what are the workarounds, what are the mitigations that we can apply here. So for me, it's more about being in that space where I can um, create an impact and solve problems. And technical support, like I said earlier, for me, with the experience I have, gathered in software engineering, cloud, DevOps, this gave me the role of a technical support engineer, like allows me to use this experience that I've gathered on a day-to-day basis. I can, work with any company in that space and be able to solve their problems for their clients. So that's it for me.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thanks a lot for that. Now, I think we need to go into a little bit of intricacies about what you do on a daily basis, right? So you're a technical support person, okay?
Yeah.
How do you explain to people that have no clue what you're talking about? So just break it down. I'm going to come back to Shell, but let's start with Michael.
Yes. So my day-to-day as a technical support engineer is I am responsible for resolving technical issues from users of a product. So I work for a company that they have like an enterprise software, for instance, and there are a whole lot of technicalities to using the software. And I am responsible for working with the different end users, in getting the application deployed. So this is where the DevOps knowledge comes in, being able to understand the infrastructure, being able to look at the architectural diagram and like, okay, this is the best parts for deployment, and then resolve issues that arise, along the way while trying to deploy the application, and as well as resolving issues that come up while using the product. So this is like my day-to-day activity. When I get up in the morning, I go through my queue. So I have something like a queue where I see like tickets and everything. So I'm responsible for like picking these tickets and trying to understand the problem and trying to work with the end users in resolving it. And when there's always this misconception with people whenever they hear technical support engineer, they're like, is that not customer experience? And I'm like, no, it's it's very different, from customer experience. This is more technical. You have to understand the products, you have to understand the code base, you also understand the different infrastructures that are at play here, and all this come in handy in my day-to-day activity. So that's pretty much what I do. And then if there are any bugs that I figure that this is something that I can't fix, I just escalate it to the product team, and and I'm also responsible for identifying trends, common problems that the end users face, and give this feedback back to the product team on areas that they can look into improving the product. So this is also my responsibility, and I am also a subject matter expert in different components of the product. So for instance, if there's an issue that is quite complex from this particular piece of the product, this is where I shine, very well. So
Oh,
I
okay.
tend to resolve many of all these complex issues as well.
All right, absolutely. I love that. I love the way you broke it down into a level of, in terms of, when you're talking about, I think we have a lot of non-technical people on the call that are looking to transition. So
Yes.
when you say when the user have problem with the products,
Yes.
okay? Now I'm pretty sure majority of these people don't even know what kind of product. Is it a water bottle? Is it a mobile phone? What's this product you're talking about? What kind of issues and all that? If you just want to just a little bit on that particular aspect.
Yes, so I can give an instance. So when I say products in this case, for everyone listening, yeah, I'm talking about like a software application that's many end users use. It could be an enterprise software application. It could be an open source software application. And the kind of problems that I resolve on a day-to-day, for instance, when deploying an enterprise application or when you're trying to deploy, yes, like an enterprise application to the cloud.
Like
Uh,
SAP
yes, like
or
an SAP. Yes,
okay.
or maybe you're trying to use maybe a payment gateway for
Okay.
a fintech startup, for instance, and users are having issues making use of the API. So it's my responsibility to, try to understand the problem, the use case, and based on the documentations that I have, and the skills that I have, try to look at a workaround for them. So that's pretty much it.
All right, brilliant. I think I love the way you brought it in now. Okay, thanks a lot. I'm going to move over to Shell. So Shell, what does a business intelligence developer do? All right, and is there okay? Let me start from there before I introduce another question. Okay, well, BI
Okay.
developer, what do you do on the day to day?
Okay, so my day-to-day role involves using the full Microsoft reporting stack. So I use Power BI, what's that thing called? Power BI Report Builder, so the desktop service and report builder. I also use Microsoft SQL to write, what's it called? SQL Server to write the code required to bring in the data from the data warehouses into the reports. So I do that. I build dashboards. The key thing here is creating something meaningful for stakeholders to understand, because the stakeholders are not technical people. So my role really is to say, based on all the data you have about the different movements. So I work for a transportation and logistics company. So based on all the data you have about your movements, this is how much you're making. This is how much you've moved. This is potentially based on how much you've moved. This is how much you could potentially move. This is how much more money you can make. And those are numbers that stakeholders like to hear. And besides that, I also use Python to build models. So my role involves a lot of prediction, a lot of predictive analysis. So it's not just the descriptive and diagnostic analysis here. So the big part of it is prescriptive, and so what next? What do we do with all this information that we have? And I think one major thing I've learned is, yes, stakeholders are not technical people. You can build a beautiful dashboard, but doesn't mean anything. The important thing for them is, okay, how do I understand these numbers? Can I trust these numbers? So another thing I learned is gaining the trust of the stakeholders as well. So that's a big thing. That's a big part of my role day
All
to
right,
day.
that's good. Day to day. So analysis, Power BI, SQL. So those are like the major tools that you use on the day to day. BI, that's
Absolutely.
Power BI and SQL.
Yes,
All right.
and
All
Azure
right.
DevOps as well.
Azure DevOps. Okay. So your
Yeah.
organization is basically a Microsoft environment. All right. That's
Yep.
brilliant. Brilliant. All right. So, looking at how most people that are looking to transition into tech, okay? A lot of them have certain misconception about the tech space. Okay. So one of the major misconception is everybody is learning tech. Okay. Everyone is learning tech. It means that if everybody would there be enough job for people, that are about to get started? Everybody's learning tech. Would there still be opportunity for people looking to get into tech? So yeah, let me go with Shil first of all, okay? Then I'll move on to Michael.
All right. So I'd say I heard that before I left Nigeria, and that was 2 years ago, and I was still able to get a role. And at the end of the day, it's not just about you just going to learn a new skill and just looking for a job. A key thing I think to remember is what kind of like what Michael said. You want to solve a problem. What problem are you looking to solve with the skills that you're getting? Everyone, every company, every organization wants to have a problem solver on their staff. People would invest in teaching you the skills that you need to have on the role if they identify that you have a particular attitude or mindset. So I think more importantly than the skills that you acquire as a person getting into tech, which is very important, you need to have the right skills, which is where 10 Analytics comes in. But you also need to have the right attitude. And I feel a person with the right attitude doesn't need to have those kind of concerns. There would always be a role for you. And it's very easy to think that because everybody is into tech now, there won't be space anymore. There's so many companies starting up every day, yeah. Yeah, that's
Right,
my take on that.
absolutely. Nail, you've driven the nail through the wood already. That's very good. Michael, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yes, just to add to what you said, I would say learning the right skill is very important, and learning what you're passionate about, because I believe passion comes in the sense that if you are really good at UI UX, for instance, there are companies out there that would employ you, regardless of everybody learning tech. Everybody's learning tech, but the question is, are you a fully baked engineer, or are you a fully baked tech individual or professional? So whatever you're learning, make sure you are very, very good at it. If it's front-end engineering, if it's data analytics, if it's back end, just make sure that you are very, very, very good at what you're learning, and be very skilled in it. And then positioning yourself. This is where branding comes in. It's not enough for you to just learn the right skill. It's also important for you to be able to position yourself by, branding, having that brand for yourself, that this is what you do when you go for conferences, when you meet people, let people know this is what you do. Put yourself out there, on social media, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very good platform for you to showcase your skills. When people know that this is what you do, regardless of a lot of people coming into tech, you would always stand out because yes, this is what you're good at, and you're very good at it. So yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with you. I agree with yourself and Shil on this particular point. There's something you mentioned about passion. So a lot of people feel like, okay, I'm going to go into tech, and they don't have the passion for it. Okay, they want to do data analytics, data science, data engineering, and all these courses, and it's usually born out of I see a friend of mine doing it. Let me just dabble into it. I don't know all the edge cases, but I'm just going to go into it. And when they get started, they get lost immediately. So without that passion, it's actually not there. And that's the reason why we're having these kind of conversations, to enlighten people, to tell people that, oh, these are the things you need to get started. But even before you get started, you must understand the career path. First of all, you must have passion for what you want to do before you actually kick on into it. Now, another misconception, a very big one, I think the biggest of them, one that people carry on their head, is certification. All right. A lot of people feel, well, depending on it, you have two professionals, but I would take the take from both of you. In terms of certification, do you think from your experience right now, uh, getting a master's, getting a PhD, getting a certification, Google certification, or all those IBM and all that, do you think is relevant in getting a job in tech? I'm going to start with, let me take Michael now. Okay, then I'll get to show.
Yes, I'll I would say the role of certification, it's a very interesting, topic. Yes. But I would, from my experience, I have seen many companies pick skills over certification. Not to say that certifications are not important, but for instance, you are certified, maybe a certified data analyst, and
AWS.
then, you get a role and you can't even do the basic things of, like the day-to-day of a data analyst, right? But when you have the skill, right, and again, just to add to that, like putting yourself out there, once you have the skill and you are able to put yourself out there, people would know that this is what you do. Many people wouldn't necessarily need to look at your certificate, right? As long as they know that, yes, you're good at this thing, it will get you the job. But certificates, in my opinion, comes second. Skills first, certificate second. And yeah, there are situations where certificates also play a role. For instance, maybe you're in the final stage of an interview, you have the skill, and then you're competing with somebody who has the skill and the certificate. So you can see why I said certificate is also very, very important. The company will most likely go with somebody who has both, who is very skilled and who has certifications. So they both play a very important role in career advancement, but the primary and the foundation thing to have in place first is skills.
Skills. Fantastic. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna over the show. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I think I agree with Michael on that. I think my take with certificates is a certificate is an endorsement saying that you have a particular skill, not the other way around. And it's important for people to sort of get the order right. However, that being said, a certificate can get you into a door. So if it comes down to it and there are people who are skilled and you're also skilled, but then you have the certification, that could be, the breaking point, that could be the deal breaker, and that could be what gets you the role. So I'd say definitely focus on getting the skill and then use the certification as an endorsement to say, I know I can do this, but these people also have also said that I can do it. I have the backing of Google, of Microsoft, of this company, of that company to say, I know how to do this as well. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So looking at you applying for a role, all right, that's like that's gonna be like on the final stage, okay? But getting your foot into the door, if I get the both of you correctly, getting started, certificate should not be the priority. It should be the skill itself. That should be the priority for people to get started. All right, fantastic. Thank you a lot for thanks. Absolutely love that. Now, in terms of getting, is there any form of age barrier? Because a lot of people are looking to transition and they feel like age is not on their side, they're too old, and this and that. Do you think age is a barrier for people getting started?
I vehemently disagree. I don't think age is a barrier. I did this transition in my 30s. My husband transitioned from digital marketing into UI UX design at the same time while we were doing this with while parenting. So again, if it's not a barrier. I know someone else who had been in branding for about almost 2 decades, and he resigned from a director role and moved to Canada and went to get a master's in, I think, either data science or something like that. And he's doing well as well. And he's well into his 40s. So I don't agree that age is a barrier. It's all in the mindset. It's all about the attitude, definitely.
Absolutely. I love that. Michael, do you want to? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you because age is not a barrier to getting started to tech. I have friends who transitioned from other careers, from engineering, even one was a doctor and currently a front-end engineer. Like, so yeah, it's about you. It's about you putting in the work, you being determined, this is what you want to do, and going for it. So it doesn't really matter whether you start at a very early age or at a later stage in life. It's about determination and putting in the work.
Right, brilliant. I think that is one major misconception people have. They feel like, oh, I'm too old to get started. I don't know how to, I'm too old, I'm this, I'm that. I feel like a lot of people just make excuses for themselves not to get started. All right. And a lot of people think too much. And that's the reason why we're having this kind of conversation. So it's not going to be coming from myself or Adeza. Okay. Let's bring in somebody else to come and, this is your own experience, and you guys are currently in the industry, and you categorically said that age is not a barrier. Okay, which is fantastic. Thanks a lot for that. Now let's talk about international opportunity for talent. International opportunity. So I'm going to start with Chill. Chill, you relocated to the UK. We have quite a number of people relocating to the UK. Or in the past probably 3, 4 years, a lot of people have been relocating to Ireland, UK, and so on and so forth. But a lot of people don't transition. You come to do masters in data science, data analytics. I think you're just a few people out of the crop that really got moved into a role in data analytics, in the data ecosystem. So international opportunities, are there jobs for international people, international students? Finish your masters, you are likely going to get a job. All right. So what do you think on that? What's your take on that?
My take is it's there are a lot of things involved. So it's not just about a lot of people focus on, getting the degree. I think a big thing in our culture as Nigerians and as Africans is we really value degrees, but that's not necessarily the culture here and in the West. People value the skill and experience above your degree or your certificate. So we get into a situation where you finish your master's and you just naturally expect that once you put a master's on your CV, people will start to call you. But it doesn't always apply. A big part of getting your first role is your branding. Like Michael said, you have to create a brand for yourself. People would see you on LinkedIn before even considering whether they're going to send you an email or give you a call. So a big part of that, I believe, is marketing. The second thing is networking. It's very important to know there's a temptation that when you're, I mean, I can speak as a student as an international student in the UK, during my master's, there's just this temptation to hurdle around people that look like you or just stay in groups, a very familiar territory. But the problem with that is you're staying in the groups or with people who have the same, who are looking for the same opportunities as you are, who have the same challenges as you are. It's very important to mix, to network with other people, ask questions, find out about what opportunities are out there. And for example, I got my first role through networking. I had a friend during my master's degree, and both of us just, we just clicked. We ended up studying together. She was one of my study buddies. And when it was time, I think she got a role she was working remotely with the company that I currently work for the US branch. And then when it was time for them to recruit, she just sent me, the job post and I said, am I interested? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Of course I'm interested. And, before then, it was just before I finished my master's. And that was how I got my first role in the UK. It was networking. I'd started interviewing, I'd got into final stages with other companies, but eventually I chose this one and that was how I got this role. So I feel a big part is branding and the second thing is networking, definitely.
Yeah, I think I love that. And these are the things that we tell our people, putting your stuff out there, all right, having a very good CV, having a good LinkedIn profile is something that would stand you out amongst every other person. So those are the
Yeah.
additional things that we do for our people with internet network. So branding is very, very important. And I think something that you covered also is misconception. If you follow a certain group of people, coming from Nigeria, coming from other parts of Africa to the UK, and you hear them say that there are no jobs, there's a likelihood you also think there are no jobs. Okay. So the kind of caliber
Absolutely.
of people you work around with, something you said that was really, really spot on. So thanks a lot for that. So I'm going to move to Michael. Michael's own case is a global tech talent. Okay. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that and and also or how do you want to work around it?
Yes. So to start with, in my plans, if anybody told me I would relocate to the UK 2, 3 years ago, I would say I would not believe, because the UK was never in my plan, to look. I was looking to Canada and the US. So I got my remote role back in Nigeria, and prior to that, I have been active in the tech space in Nigeria, attending conference, being opportunity to speak at a number of conferences, tech conferences in Nigeria. And when I got to hear about the Global Talent visa route through a friend, which Seun mentioned, networking, like having the right set of people in your circle, you get access to the right type of information. And I remember we're just talking. Sorry, just to backtrack, I got to learn about the Global Talent Visa through a mentor, and then he linked me up with a friend. So I was just having a conversation with my mentor back then, and then he was like, "You're good enough to apply for the UK Global Talent and all that." And I said, "Well, I thought like it's for co-founders, founders," and I said, "No, that he knows someone who has done it, like the person was working for him, and he could link me up with the person." And that's how I got linked up with this person who is not my friend. And then we got talking, and he walked me through the steps that he went through. And when we were having that conversation, I was like, it's not as difficult as I thought, because I always had this mindset that it's for founders, and then the requirements are really, really hard. But in actual sense, it's not so difficult. So after having that conversation, I went back to do my own research. So TechNation basically is the endorsing body for tech talents coming into the UK. There are other endorsing bodies here in the UK, but I'm very much familiar with TechNation because that was the part I came through it. So I went on the TechNation website to read the requirements for getting the visa. So the UK Global Talent Visa is divided into 2 routes. You first get the endorsement, and then with the endorsement, you apply for the visa. And in TechNation, there are 2 routes that you can apply for. You can apply as an exceptional promise or an exceptional talent. If you're applying under the exceptional promise category, you have to have 0 to 5 years experience. And if you're applying under the exceptional talent, you have to have 5+ years experience. I applied under the exceptional promise category, and I had to read the requirements. What are the requirements, for applying for this? And one of the requirements is to show that you work in a digital-led organization, contributions to open source, or what contributions do you have, in the tech space so far? And there are a whole lot of other things. So I just basically had to read through all of the requirements, then try to pick which of these requirements, what documents do I have as evidences to present that I fit into this category. So that was pretty much what I did for the first 2 months of last year, because I came into the UK July last year. So I started the whole process January last year, and then for the first 2 months, I was just gathering documents, reaching out to companies that I've worked with in the past. And just to mention that when you leave an organization, it's very important not to burn bridges, because you never know when they would be helpful. So it was easy for me to reach out to companies I worked with. I need these documents to support my applications, and then they were ready to help me. And I had to come up with a personal statement. Why do I want to relocate to the UK? Why do I want to come into the UK as a global talent? And that was when I was writing that personal statement, it was like a reality, check for me, like, okay, why do I want to do this? And I basically just talked about some of the things I have done, contributions to open source that I have worked on. I wrote technical documentations for an open source project. I've contributed to open source code base, So I was basically outlining all these things that I have worked on in the past, spoken at conferences in Nigeria, and all these things were helpful in making up my points, and talking that when I get to the UK, I want to continue to give back to companies, work with global companies and, showcase my skills and talent. And all this came in handy for me in my application. So I got my endorsements April. So by February ending, I'd already gathered all of the required documents, and then I submitted my application, and it took about a month and 2 weeks for them to get back to me. Now, I applied as a technical support engineer, and when I read on the technician website, there was no technical support engineering position stated there. So I wasn't sure if they were going to endorse for a technical support engineer. So what I did was to send an email to technician that I'm a technical support engineer and I want to apply for the UK Global Talent. Are you endorsing for this tech profession? And they said yes, as long as I'm able to provide enough evidences to support my application. So that was the first thing I did because I wasn't sure, right? And then as soon as I got that confirmation, it made the whole thing easier for me. So I just gathered all of the documents, submitted the application, and then by April, I got my endorsements, and I just basically used the endorsement to apply for my visa. And I am currently so the same job I was working in Nigeria is what I'm still doing here in the UK. So yeah.
So you got a job in Nigeria. You're working for a company based in the UK from Nigeria earlier.
I was working for a US company while I was in
Okay.
Nigeria. So I'm literally still doing the same job here in the UK.
All right, that's fantastic. I think that's a very detailed run through of how, if you guys are interested in the technician, I'm sure they have your link, they can check you up on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and ask you all the questions that they need to ask you. But essentially, we tell most people that countries now, not even organizations, it's not just organizations that are looking to attract the best tech talent, but countries, not just the UK, Canada has the same, Singapore, Australia, France, Germany, they all have tech parks for tech talent. So you see, the craze around learning a tech skill is very important. If a country is creating a migration pathway for tech talent, that should show you, that basically shows you that there is a deficit they're trying to fill towards the future. So that's like a key thing. Thanks for walking us through, the Tech Nation, Global Talent Visa, and all that. I think that's absolutely great. Yeah, wonderful. So, the last thing I'll just say is in terms of what would you, if you're going to be giving anybody advice, all right? We have a lot of starters currently on the call. So people that are looking to just get started, just get their foot into the door, all right? They are still doubting the capacity, they're still doubting the tech space, or, it's too technical, it's too hard, it's too this, it's too that. What sort of advice would you advise these people? Okay. So I'm going to start with, let me take a show, then I'll come back to Michael. So how
Okay.
would you advise a beginner looking to get started in tech?
Okay, so a few things. I think I would start with don't discredit yourself. Don't don't rule out yourself or disqualify yourself before someone else does. A lot of time when I remember when I just started as well, when I just started looking for roles, just taking a look at the job description for a role sometimes can be very discouraging.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like nah, that's okay, for a lot of times many recruiters just do copy and paste for job descriptions. So don't discredit yourself. And sometimes um, I'd say what you think is priority in a job search or when looking for a candidate might not actually be what they're, what's on the job description. I'll give you an example. Many times people are actually out for non-technical skills, like non-technical skills are seriously underrated. It's very important for you to um, focus on your transferable skills, especially for people who are trying to pivot from a different industry into tech. So, what other skills do you have besides? Okay, you don't, you're not very experienced at technical stuff. Okay, so how's your communication? How's your task management? How's your problem solving? What's your attitude at work? How are your people skills? If you're good with things like that, it probably would increase your chances in getting your role anyway. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is you can do difficult things. Um, someone gave me that piece of advice early this year, and I think that I've just been trying to run with that. You can do difficult things. Yes, they may have told you that, yeah, tech is difficult, coding is hard. I've tried to code before, I don't understand it. Well, you can do difficult things. Yeah, that's it from here.
Beautiful. I think you've done a great job. Anyone that listens to that, I think should motivate. They should feel motivated, no doubt about that. So I'm gonna hand over to Michael. Michael.
Yes, there was something she mentioned that I think I would want to emphasize again, having that mindset that yes, you can do it, because in tech, there's no barrier to entry, regardless of whether you're starting early or later in life. There's no barrier to entry. You need the right mindsets that you can do it, you can learn this thing and be good at it, and get the job of your dreams. Secondly is I'd say being a part of a community makes it easier, because when you're a part of a community like Analytics, right, you get to meet people who have like mind as you, and who are trying to also get into the space, and then you get to interact with people. You get to hear the people's perspective of how they are trying to do things, and then when you're also a part of a community, you get to attend seminars, conferences, talks like this, and it's further opens your mind to the possibilities, the different ways you can break into the space. And then the third thing is being persistent, right? For anyone starting, many companies, at least from what I've seen so far, it's really, really hard for um, um, people that are entering into tech, like getting their first role. But one thing I can guarantee is once you get that one job, to take a chance on you, that's all you need. So persistence, you have to be really, really persistent in applying for roles. I can remember I was looking at how many, unfortunately, emails I've written, and I counted 756 or thereabouts, before I got like that break that I was looking for. So, I mean, if I'd given up at 200, I probably wouldn't have been where I am today. So, you have to be very, very persistent, and, be willing to volunteer for projects, because when you volunteer for projects, you never know who is watching, you never know who is looking at you, who is going to recommend you that, okay, this person, I worked with this person on this project and he's really good, she's really good, I can recommend this person. So you don't know who is looking at you. And then if you have the opportunity to contribute to open source projects, it also gives you an advantage. For instance, if you are a data engineer, you can look at contributing to open source Python libraries, for instance, and then putting it out there that, yeah, I worked on this project, and it gives you an advantage when companies are interviewing you or looking out for you. You can always talk about, yeah, I worked on this, I worked on that. So yeah, these three things would help make the journey easier.
Absolutely. I think you guys, honestly speaking, I don't think I can't even add anything to what you guys have said, because you really covered all the aspects that we preach about. Okay. First of all, community. All right. And that's why we started Analytics, to provide an enabling environment for people to learn, and also, you know, basically a platform for people to stand on and grow in their career. All right. So all the things you've talked about, you've spoken about branding, and all the things and the things that we offer. The key question that people will still ask is, how do we get started? Anyways, this is going to talk about that as we go on. But just to appreciate you guys taking out time on a Saturday to speak to our people, we honestly appreciate you guys big time. All right, we appreciate you big time. So, do you guys want to give a round of applause to Michael and Shield for taking out time on the Saturday? You can just use the clapping emoji. Okay, yes, okay. All right. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to hand over to Adeza. Adeza is going to be talking more on how people can easily transition into the tech space. Okay, the programs that we offer, how you can get started. Basically, people still have questions around how they can get started, and that's where Adeza comes into basically show them how they can get started. So, Shil, Michael, thank you very much. And yes, Adeza, do you want to say something?
All right, thank you very much, Shil and Michael. I think your submission has been pretty instructive, especially, sharing your experience with regards to how you got started. I think a lot of people would have been inspired today, because one of the major setbacks or drawbacks that people usually have is to take that first step and always feel that this is just too difficult for me to get started. But the more they keep on seeing people that have started their journey, they've done well, they're doing very well, that's, would serve as an inspiration to them to, pick up the pace and get started eventually. So thank you very much for coming to share your experience with us today. We deeply appreciate you. All right. Yeah. So to everybody still on the call, I'll take the next 1 hour to walk you through how to actually get started. You've heard from Shil, you've heard from Michael, current professionals, tech professionals within the tech ecosystem in the UK. Shil, a global talent. I beg your pardon, Michael, a global talent, while Shil, the BI developer. You want to start your journey into tech. How do you get started? All right. And I'll just quickly do a brief introduction about myself before I jump into our session for today. So my name is Adeza Suleiman. I'm a data analytics expert with close to a decade experience working across multiple industries, helping them to make sense of the data that they have and to take data-driven decisions. I'm also the founder of Tenalytics. Of course, Tenalytics is this platform that helps Africans and people of the Black community to get into tech. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to help close to 1,000 Africans to get into the tech ecosystem, to get their first jobs in tech. How have we been able to do this? And how can you also start your journey as well? And that's what I'm here to quickly show you in the next 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then we'll take questions from you and we call it a day. So I'll just go ahead and share my slide and I'll walk through the slides. If you have questions while I'm presenting, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. So all the things you've heard Shil and Michael talk about, how do you actually start? How can you learn the same skills? How can you land a job as a professional within the tech ecosystem? How do you get started, really? All right, so I'll just go ahead and share my slide and then let's get into it. So how to get started as a global talent. Now, for us at Tenalytics, we offer 7 key programs. And one of the things I always say, and the way or the methodology we deployed to come up with these 7 programs includes data scraping, which means getting data across the major job boards, okay, the major job sites that offers, recruitment vacancies across the tech ecosystem, from Indeed, indeed.co.uk, ca.indeed.com, Monsters, monsters.com, monster.co.uk, ZipRecruiter, and so many other platforms. We scraped the data, gathered data from them, and we did an analysis to see a trend and identify the major roles that have been in very high demand over the last 5 years, and also project into the future between the next 5 years and 10 years. Okay, so from now till the year 2030, what are the roles that will be very high in demand? And also looking at the World Economic Forum reports on the job outlook reports, which clearly indicates the jobs that are declining at a very fast pace and the jobs that are also growing. All right. If you can get your hand on that report, I think that'll be a fantastic thing for you to do, which is do your own research and you transitioning into a career path. You want to see the opportunities that are available in there. In the next 5 years, will my skills still be relevant or will I be redundant eventually? And some of the major, job functions that have been highlighted by the World Economic Forum report, I'll just quickly run through it. And I'm sure some of you will be shocked by some of the, the jobs that are declining at the moment. And in the next 5 years, you'd witness a very drastic decline in these job roles, meaning that employers would no longer look for employees that have this particular skill. And the major one, number one, is the bank tellers and clerks. Bank tellers. And you'd see the trend nowadays. I've been in the UK for quite a while now, and I've never had to go to the bank for anything. All right. And when you see a lot of the processes automated, where you can sit at the comfort of your home, open a bank account, you can move money around easily, then the bank tellers, the bank clerks starts to become redundant. And that's the number one job role that is in very high decline at the moment. Number two, you have the administrative executives and secretaries. Obviously, today you have digital assistants across the globe and virtual assistants as well. Your relationship managers, your credits and loan officers. Today, you want to apply for a loan. All you need to do is to fill a couple of forms, and you'd have some algorithms, machine learning models that have been developed to easily tell if somebody is worthy to have a loan. You also have the credit scores, the credit agencies that also provides data that would make it easy for financial institutions to decide if somebody can take a loan or not. So these roles are in high decline. And if you're moving into a new role, you have to be very careful and find out where you get the best value in terms of the relevance of your skill and also being able to compete for the best jobs out there. And that's just to quickly explain that before we dive into the main meats of our session for today. So we came up with 7 programs based on the job demand by different employers across the globe, from Nigeria to across Africa in general, the UK, the major economies like the US, Canada, and across Europe. And the 7 programs we came up with includes business analysis, data analytics, financial analytics, HR analytics, full stack data science, data engineering, and Power Platform engineering. And I'll take time to explain all these 7 roles. But always remember that the 3 criteria we looked at to select these 7 roles, apart from the demand for these roles in the next 5 to 10 years, we also looked at, number one, these roles are easy to learn, right? You want to learn a skill to become a business analyst or a data analyst. They are easy for you to learn. You don't have to spend a year. You don't have to spend 2 years in the university or 4 years in the university to learn to become a data analyst or a data scientist, and so on and so forth. Second criteria is ease of transitioning and getting a job. So you don't want to
now connected to Aditha Suleiman.
So now you don't want to learn something that will be difficult for you to transition and get a job eventually. All right. So you've learned something, you've learned some skills, you know how to carry out data analytics using different tools. How do you get a job? How do you transition into a new career path? It should be easy for you to do that. And last but not the least is, of course, high and rewarding salaries. The salary has to be fantastic. Okay. So looking at these 3 criteria, ease of learning, ease of transitioning and getting a job, and high and rewarding salaries, we came up with the 7 programs that we offer at Tenalytics. That's in addition to the demand. Okay. And if you get your hands on the World Economic Forum reports, the major jobs that are growing in demand and would also create more job opportunities in the tune of 85 million roles between now and the year 2030. Number 1 is AI, machine learning. Number 2, you have sustainability specialists. So for those who, work to ensure that we have a sustainable planet, you get, very high increase in job vacancies in the next couple of years, even today as we speak. Number 3 is business intelligence analyst, of course, which is also a derivative of data analytics. Number 4 is information security analyst. Number 5 is data analyst and data scientist. All these roles, out of the top 5, 3 of them are within the within the data ecosystem: data analyst, data engineering, data science, AI, machine learning. And these are the areas you want to focus your attention on, because these are the areas where the jobs will be created. A lot of people say things around AI would take away a lot of jobs, but more jobs will be created than would be become irrelevant eventually. You'd have more jobs created compared to the number of jobs that would become irrelevant. And these, you want to equip yourself with the skills to ensure that you can compete for those jobs eventually. So now we're going to look at what a data analyst does, for example, and we'll start from the very first three. We'll look at the business analyst, we'll look at the financial analyst, and also the Power Platform engineer. Because people always ask the question, as a business analyst, what do you do? All right. As a business analyst, what do you do? What's your role? As a Power Platform engineer, what is it all about? So I'm going to paint a very quick scenario, a case study, and I'll walk you through it, a real life case study, how a company was able to come up with a solution to a problem that they had internally. How did they come up with a solution to a problem that they had internally? So the company is called Aqua PLC, and they had delays with their expense request. And what's the expense request? An employee wants to travel on a project, all right? The employee needs some money to go on that particular assignment. That employee would need to apply to get money to travel and for other expenses related to the project. Now, the current process is so manual in the sense that employees would have to send an email. So they send email to their line manager. The line manager would have to send another email to the accountant. The accountant would have to send another email to the MD before that expense is approved and the money is sent to the employee. And it takes an average of 2 days for that to happen. It takes an average of 2 days, which is a major problem, all right? You want to travel, you need some money to travel. And when you apply for your expense to travel, what happens? You have 2 days delay. Now, how can this problem be solved by a business analyst? And not just the business analyst, but other roles that you have within the organization. So the business analyst, the Power Platform engineer, and the financial analyst would have to come together to find a way to solve this problem. And how can they do that? The business analysts, on the one hand, would have to understand the entire process of what it takes to approve an expense request. So if an employee sends an email, who does the employee send it to? The business analyst needs to understand that process. By understanding the process, they would be able to have more engaged conversations with different stakeholders to gather requirements, all right? So if we need to approve an expense, what are the things we should take into consideration? Who approves first before it goes to the next person, and so on and so forth. Once the business analyst is able to get that, they document those requirements, okay? And what they do is they come up with something called the current state. So for an expense to be approved, there is a process. Employee sends the email goes to the line manager sends to the accountant sends to the MD has to approve. The BA would map out that process and identify the bottlenecks, the inefficiencies, where some changes need to be made to ensure that they can change that manual process and make it a lot faster. It takes 2 days. How do we reduce the number of days? That's the role of the business analyst, looking at the process, mapping out the process, sitting with the different stakeholders, understanding the process end to end, knowing what the current process is, the inefficiencies, the bottlenecks, the delays, and being able to come up with a solution to that problem. Now, the business analyst would not work alone. They would work with the Power Platform engineer, because the business analysts have identified that we can't keep up with this manual process of sending emails. So we need a system. we need an application that would help us do this. And this is where the Power Platform Engineer comes into play. The Power Platform Engineer is meant to design and develop an application that would help employees just open up their app or open up their laptops and request for an expense without having to send an email. So the business analyst would work with the Power Platform Engineer, who would leverage different Power Platform tools like the Power Apps, the Power Automate, and so many other tools to create a customized solution to streamline that process. So a process that takes 2 days, the Power Platform Engineer would design an application to make the process seamless and reduce the time it takes for the expense to get approved. Now, the Power Platform Engineer would also work closely to understand the requirements and the pain points of the current process, because the business analyst is not the person that will build the solution. The Power Platform Engineer would build it. But the business analyst has gathered all the requirements and has a business requirement document. That business analyst would then liaise with the Power Platform Engineer to ensure that all the areas of concerns are addressed from all the stakeholders. And the Power Platform Engineer would then go ahead and use all the tools within their tool set, their toolkits, to come up with a solution. All right. Now, while the Power Platform Engineer is coming up with a solution, the company also needs to know that whatever they are spending is in line with the budget they've approved for that year. Whatever they are spending is also in line with their policies. For example, if you are not a manager, there is a certain amount of money you cannot apply for. All right. If you are maybe an associate in that company, you have a limit to how much you can apply for. Now, this has to be tracked. This has to be tracked. Somebody also needs to know that whatever we are spending, our expense analysis is also tracked to ensure we don't go above the budget. That person that tracks the data, that tracks the expense, to tell the business that this is where we are. We are going very close above what we should do. We need to, curb our expenses and ensure that we don't go overboard. That's number one. That person also shows the business that, look, based on what we've done in the past, in terms of this particular type of project, if we are going to engage in a similar type of project, this is the amount we should be looking at to spend. And with that, we can plan appropriately. And that person is the financial analyst. The financial analyst role is to connect to that application built by the Power Platform Engineer. All right, collect data from the platform and use different tools like Power BI, for example, to build a dashboard to monitor the expenses by the company to ensure that they don't overspend and they meet the budget limits and they don't go above the budget. The financial analyst would also generate all these reports to ensure that everything is taken into consideration. They save costs where costs needs to be saved, and they also present the financial position of the company at every particular point in time. And these are the different roles of the business analyst to the Power Platform Engineer and to the financial analyst. So they have their different roles. And in doing all of this, they are collaborating. They're not working in silos. They're not working in isolation. The business analyst would understand the process, gather all the requirements, and identify that we need to automate. The Power Platform Engineer is that person that will do the automation. So he or she comes in, builds the application, ensures that all the requirements from the different stakeholders are taken into consideration, builds that application, and reduces the time it takes to approve an expense request. The financial analyst, because there is now a platform where requests are made, instead of sending emails, I open up the platform, I enter my ID number, my password, and then I enter the request and the details for the request, and I click on submit. The moment I click on submit, it goes to the next level approves, goes to the next level, and then my expense request is approved. By working together and by working together with the business analyst, the Power Platform engineer, and the financial analyst, the business was able to streamline the approval process. It took the process from something that was very manual, using emails, from 2 days. It took 2 days from the manual process, but now they have a process that takes just 3 hours to get approved. And this is the beauty of being a business analyst or a Power Platform engineer or a financial analyst. They have their different roles to play in solving this particular problem. Now, as a business analyst, what do you need to know? What are the technical skills? What are the tools you need to function as a business analyst? Because people always have this confusion. Business analysis, data analytics, are they the same or are they different? They are totally different. From all the explanations I've given, from what the business analyst does, their major role is to what? Streamline processes, identify inefficiencies, understand the current process, identify inefficiencies, and then come up with the ideal process that would take the shortest time possible. And in doing this, automation would need to be developed, all right? And that's where the Power Platform engineer comes into play, using tools like Power Apps, Power Automate to build custom applications to streamline that process that the business analyst has identified that needs to be automated, all right? The business analyst would also track all the deliverables because that business analyst has sat with the stakeholders, understood the requirements, and has a business requirement document. So all the different tasks in that project will be tracked by the business analyst. So the business analyst essentially would have key skills in the area of Excel, Power BI, and SQL, which I would call the data analytics part of the business analyst. The business analyst must then know how to map out processes using tools like Draw.io. You map out the current processes from start to finish. Without mapping out the processes, it's difficult to then understand where you have inefficiencies and areas you can optimize. Project initiation planning, which is where the business analyst would need to come up with the project, initiate the project, and also manage and track the deliverables of that project using project management methodologies like Agile and Scrum, right? The business analyst would also need to understand the software development lifecycle. How does a software development project start, and what's the cycle from start to finish? Because the business analyst would also be managing projects and tracking all these deliverables, it's pertinent that they understand the software development lifecycle, requirement fundamentals, elicitation, sitting down, holding workshops, gathering requirements, and so on and so forth, eliciting information and details and data from the stakeholders within the company, and of course, stakeholder analysis and engagement. How do you manage your stakeholders? How do you communicate with stakeholders? How do you engage your stakeholders? And so on and so forth. These are the key skills for a business analyst, all right? So you'd learn how to use Trello, for example, to track projects. You'd learn how to use Jira. You'd learn how to use Draw.io to map out processes. You'd learn how to use ChatGPT as well as a business analyst. And ChatGPT is a new trend. It's a generative AI tool that helps you to streamline and move efficiently as a business analyst. So that's your technical assistant. Some key things you want to quickly find out, you can ask ChatGPT. And this is also an introduction into prompt engineering, which you'd also be learning as part of the program. As a business analyst in the UK, for example, the average salary is about £52,500. In Canada, it's about 74,000 Canadian dollars. A lot of the participants that join from Canada, or Nigerians, Africans, Ghanaians moving to Canada that join our training program, a lot of them go for the business analysis program because of the demand of the skills in that particular region. In the US as well, it's about 85,000 US dollars. And how long does it take for you to learn the business analysis skill and get started as a business analyst? 3 months. 2 months project-based classes, and then 1 month internship. Now, I'll talk about the project-based classes. And this is where, as somebody getting started in a new career path, you don't want to just learn by watching videos, by watching YouTube, by just watching videos and trying to do what you see in a video, which is what a lot of people do today. And they find it very difficult to transition because they learn everything, and at the end of the day, they learn nothing because you don't have a structured learning path to say, I'm going to start from this point, and then this is where I need to stop before I start to apply to jobs. All right. So project-based classes gives you the opportunity to work on projects, real life projects that you'd work on in the real world. So your first job as a business analyst, what are you likely going to work on? What are the type of problems you're going to solve for that company? You'd work on similar projects during the 2 months project-based classes that you'd have. And then your 1 month internship is where we create a real life scenario where you'd also work on more projects to add to your portfolio. Right? So when you go to the front of recruiters, the thing that will get you to the front of the recruiters, the key element would be your skills. The recruiter would want to know what you've done in that space. What's the evidence? Show us evidence. If not, you keep on explaining and explaining, but you need to show evidence. Your portfolio is what gives you the evidence eventually. All right. This is evidence that I've solved this type of problems. This is the depth of my skills, looking at the quality of the projects you've solved during your internship. And I think Michael talked about that when he mentioned you working on different projects, open source projects, and so on and so forth. So what we've done is to take those type of projects into the program itself. So without even going out, within the program, 1 month, you get to work on real life projects. Now, as a Power Platform engineer, I'll be building applications, custom applications to help to automate processes, streamline processes. You need to know introduction to the Power Platform. A lot of people just know that, Power BI exists. However, Power BI is just one application from an entire platform that contains so many other applications, like the Power Apps, the Power Automate, and the Power Virtual Agent. So the Power Platform itself consists of Microsoft Power BI, the Power Apps, the Power Automate, and the Power Virtual Agent. And you use these different tools to build custom applications. And it's a no-code, low-code platform. All right? Low-code, no-code platform. So you're not learning all the technical coding, front-end engineering, back-end engineering, especially back-end where you need to write a lot of codes and so on and so forth. So you're building applications, custom applications using Power Apps. You're automating processes using Power Automate, and you're also using Power Virtual Agents to build chatbots that are AI enabled. So when you go on a website today, you try to put in questions to a particular chat and somebody responds to you, or you get responses that are so human-like, all right? And this is what you do using the Power Virtual Agents, the Power Apps to build custom applications, Power Automate to automate your processes. And of course, you'd learn how to use Power BI to visualize data, because you're going to extract data using SQL, SQL, Structured Query Language. SQL is simply a language that enables you to interact with databases. Structured organizations would have their data in a database or in a data warehouse, just like Sheol mentioned. How do you interact with that data warehouse? How do you get your data from that data warehouse? How do you analyze data in a data warehouse? All right. So SQL is very, very important to interacting with databases. Okay. So you learn SQL, you learn Power Pages. You will also learn how to build your case and create action. All right. And you'd also learn how to use AI tools to help you connect a lot of the things you'll be doing and embed artificial intelligence into it. As a Power Platform engineer, your average salary in the UK is about £45,000. In Canada, it's about 72,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US, it's about 110,000 US dollars. How long does it take you to become a Power Platform engineer? 3 months as well. 2 months project-based classes. And that's the beauty of working on projects. So it's very different from the way you've learned all your life, which is normally you go to school for 4 years, you write paper, you write different theoretical exams, you have to come up with a thesis at the end of your program, which is research-based, nothing practical to solve real-world problems at the end of your study. But here you are studying in a way that as you learn a particular tool, you are building a project, applying the tool that you've learned. And that's the best way to learn, especially for an industry that requires your skills, which is heavily skilled. And you also require to showcase and show that you understand how to use the skills. Every employer would want to hire somebody that is valuable, a high value employee. And the only way you can showcase to an employer that you are a high valued employee is by showing them that you can solve problems for them because you've done it before. 2 months project-based classes, and then 1 month free internship. The internship is where you get to showcase your skills. You get to show your portfolio of all the work you've done, what you've done using Power Virtual Agent, what you've done using the Power Apps to build your applications, and so on and so forth. For the financial analytics professional, just like in the scenario we painted, where the financial analytics professional was, more concerned about tracking expenses, what are we doing with regards to the budget, doing analysis, and so on and so forth. The financial analyst is concerned with analyzing the financial related data in the company and helping the company take data-driven decisions about their financial situation, and so on and so forth. So as a financial analyst or a financial analytics professional, it's a combination of finance or investment banking and data analytics. So you have finance and accounting knowledge, investment banking, and data analytics. That's the fusion of the financial analytics program. So you'd learn problem solving, which is a critical aspect of any analyst, how to solve problems. She'll mention that while she was, giving, some submission about what she does on a day-to-day. Problem solving is absolutely critical. How do you identify problems? How do you break problems into multiple parts? How do you leverage different tools and techniques to get to the root cause of a problem, and so on and so forth? That's very crucial. How do you even know the right type of tool to use? How do you know if you have the data to solve a particular problem? How do you know if you need to gather the data, where to gather the data if you don't have the data? And that's where problem solving comes into play. You'll also learn how to use Excel, Power BI, and SQL for data analytics. So lots of the analysis you'll be doing, you'll need to leverage tools like Excel, Power BI for your data visualization, SQL to also interact with databases, get your data from the database, or connect your different tools to that database to carry out your analysis, and also build your dashboards and reports, and automate the process by connecting to the database directly. All right. You'd also learn accounting fundamentals, of course, which is the language of any business. Any business today would need a financial analyst because every business would want to know their performance with regards to their revenue, their expenses, what they need to do with regards to want to start a new business. How do we model the business we want to start? Coming up with a financial model. So you'd learn different financial analysis, ratios, and so on and so forth. And then financial modeling. You'd build models for companies and startups that are just getting off the ground. And a typical class in your financial modeling will involve you deciding on the type of business you want to come up with. So let's take, for example, you want to build the next Uber. That's the business you want to start. You'd create the model from start to finish, considering different assumptions and so on and so forth to come up with your financial model. You'd also learn how to value, valuations, and sensitivity and scenario analysis. Now, what does it take? How much do you earn as a financial analyst across the major economies? In the UK, it's about £51,000. In Canada, it's about 69,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US, it's about 74,000 US dollars. And how long does it take for you to become a financial analytics professional? 4 months. 3 months project-based classes and 1 month virtual internship, free internship. And like I mentioned earlier, the importance of the internship, which is where you get to work on projects in a real world scenario, working on projects that are likely going to work on when you eventually get a job. All right. How do you build financial models? How do you value a company? And I'll give you a typical example of a participant in the financial analytics program. While she was still learning, she was having a conversation with a friend who has a startup somewhere in the US. And what the conversation led to he mentioning that, look, I'm trying to come up with a financial model for my business, and I don't know if you know somebody who can help. And she was super excited that I know how to, create a financial model. I'll do it for you, all right, free of charge. But he insisted on paying for the service. Eventually, even before she left the program, she was already building financial models. She built for her friend. Her friend told another friend who had a startup that he knows somebody who can create and build financial models. And that was how, she got that part, she got that service up and running. And that's what she does today, building models for different startups across different regions, right? So these three major programs: business analysis, financial analytics, power platform engineering, are key areas within the tech ecosystem that you can learn easily, you can transition and get a job easily, and you also get high and rewarding salaries. And it takes you an average of 3 to 4 months to complete any of these programs, learning by working on projects. And I'll show you some of the projects we're going to work on, show you the platform, and see, you'd see what it takes when you join one of the programs we offer at Tenalytics. Can one learn business analysis and Power Platform at the same time? The answer is no. The answer is no, Tony Albert. The answer is no. And that's simply because the program itself is immersive. You need to immerse yourself in the program. It's also intensive. So you can't learn business analysis and at the same time learn Power Platform engineering. That'll be too much, right? It's not practical, and I would not advise you to do that. You can start off with one, and when you're done with that first part, maybe you start off with business analysis and you are done with that, you can then move on to Power Platform engineering. All right. Now we'll move on to the next 4 programs, or the next 4 career paths. I've talked about 3 already: the business analysis, the financial analytics, and the Power Platform engineering. So now we'll move into the data analytics, data engineering, data science, and HR analytics, and we'll see what it entails and see what is required to get into any of these career paths. And we'll also I'll explain that using a simple case study as well, all right? And this is a real life case study, like I mentioned earlier. Now you have a company called Friggle FMCG. Of course, the name has been changed not to represent the correct company. Friggle FMCG is a fast-growing company currently facing challenges with revenue. All right, every company wants to increase revenue, reduce cost, and so on. So they have, a very good bottom line at the end of the day. All right, Friggle is a fast-rising company, and they have over 500 employees across different regions and different departments. Now, how do they increase their revenue? That was the big question they had, because they were not making enough money to keep operations going across the different regions where they operate. All right. So to achieve or to solve this problem, they had to bring the data team together. All right. They had to bring the data team, the data analyst, the data engineer, and try to fashion a way to solve this problem. Now, because Friggle FMCG operates different stores across the 36 states in Nigeria and the FCT. So they have 37 locations, and they have transactions across those 37 locations. Whenever a transaction is made, transactions can be made on the web, transactions can be made using the POS and credit cards, debit cards, and so on and so forth. So data is stored across all these different platforms, right? So you have the POS transactions, you have the web transactions, and Friggle has 37 locations across Nigeria. Now, for them to even start answering the question on how to improve revenue, they need to know what they are doing. What have we done in terms of revenue over the last 2 months, over the last 1 year, over the last 2 years? So all the data across the different systems needs to be gotten into a single location. And that's where the data engineer comes into play. Now, the data engineer, whose name is Kenny is that person that does what? That builds data pipelines to get data from the various systems, all the sales transactions, the POS channels, the POS transactions, an application they have called the WebPay app, and also their HR software, where they have data for their employees. Because one of their hypotheses is that the employees' performance also affects the business performance. So while they're analyzing all the sales transaction, looking at their revenue, they also want to look at the employee performance. Now, Kenny's role as a data engineer is to look at all these different systems, the websites, the transactions that happen on the website, transactions that happens on the app, transactions that happens across the POS channels, and bring them into a single location called a data warehouse. All right. And by bringing the data from those different systems, Kenny, who is the data engineer, has to ensure the data integrity and make regular updates. Now, remember that transactions happen regularly. So whenever a transaction happens, that should also move into the data warehouse. And that's Kenny's role as a data engineer. So Kenny would move the data from the different locations, the different systems, different applications, the HR system, the CRM system, into a data warehouse, a central location, so that every other person that needs to access this data can access it easily. All right. And that's the role of the data engineer. You are that person that gets data from wherever the data is to where the data needs to be. So Kenny did that. He created all the different pipelines, got all the data from wherever the different systems, and put the data in a data warehouse so that the data analyst, who is BC, can access that data. All right. So BC connected to the data warehouse only because Kenny has done his own part, has played his part as the data engineer. Now, without Kenny, there will be no data warehouse. All right. Without Kenny, there will be no data for BC to do her job. So what BC did was simple. Because the data warehouse was available, BC connected to that data warehouse, and she was able to analyze her data using different analytic tools like Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and so on and so forth. Now, BC created dashboards to visualize the performance of the company, looking at their sales trend, looking at their revenue. We want to improve our revenue. We first of all have to know what we have done in the past and what we are doing currently. And that was what BC did. She used Excel, she used Power BI, connected them to that data warehouse, got her data, and created dashboards to show the different metrics that could help them track their revenue. All right. For example, what were the top performing products in the different locations? What has been the sales trend from January till date? All right. What is the return rate? When we sell a product, what's the percentage of return from the customers? Now, these visualizations that BC created could give a clear picture of the situation of the company, where the company was at a particular point in time with respect to revenue. Now, this dashboard also showed that Lagos and Kaduna generated 55% of the total revenue of that company. Nobody knew this. This was only possible, and everybody knew because BC had created her dashboard, and her dashboard could show everybody what the company was doing with regards to revenue. All right, so let's take it a step back. Kenny brought the data from all the different locations and put the data in a data warehouse so that BC can connect to that data warehouse and do her analysis. And when she did the analysis, she found out that, look, Lagos and Kaduna generates 55% of our total revenue. So those are very, very important locations for us. Okay. She could also show the picture, the clear picture of what the company was doing with regards to revenue over the last few months. Now, Chioma, who is also the data scientist, could connect to the data warehouse because Kenny created a data warehouse and made the data available. Chioma's responsibility was to look beyond what BC had done. BC only showed us the picture of the company, our revenue from January to August, the products that were selling the most, the regions that were generating the highest revenue, and so on and so forth. Chioma's responsibility was now to take it a step further, to help to predict what will happen in the future based on what has happened in the past. All right? Which particular variables are impacting our sales and revenue performance? What are the key factors that are affecting performance? So Chioma set out to find out those reasons, to take it a step further from where BC stopped. And Chioma was able to carry out exploratory data analysis using Python. And eventually, she did some correlations. She also tried to identify customer behavior. Is there a particular behavior from the customers that leads to increase or decrease in revenue? Eventually, Chioma was able to find out that there was a combination of certain products that had the highest sales. For example, when a customer buys one product, they tend to buy the second product, similar products across different customers. That show that when customers buy this combination of products, it leads to increase in sales. That was the first thing Chioma identified. The second thing Chioma identified was that the major factor that influenced revenue to increase was the employee training. Right? Meaning that in the locations where you had employees who had high training, there was a tendency that you had high revenue from those locations. So Chioma was able to identify these patterns in the data. Going a little bit above what BC had done, she went a step further. Customer behavior. Oh, when customers buy this product, they tend to buy this other product, and that gives us increase in sales. Number one insight. Number two insight from Chioma was that the key factor that affected the revenue to increase was also the employees' training, employees that received training. So what Chioma simply did, she developed a machine learning model that could predict revenue based on employee training and the combination of these products. That was what Chioma did. All in the process of doing this, the different parties were collaborating. Chioma was talking to BC. BC was saying, this is what I've done. Chioma was also looking, okay, BC has done this. Let me take it a step further. All right. So when Chioma did all of this, BC and Chioma now decided to have a meeting with Sheila. Sheila is the HR analyst. Now, remember that the company was also looking to identify the fact that revenue can be increased by employee performance. So Sheila, who is responsible for the HR data in the company, she is the HR analyst who can take HR or people-related data and analyze that data to make sense. Sheila also connected to that database, to the data warehouse. And Sheila also spoke with the data analysts, Kenny, and the data scientist, Chioma. And with the insights the data analyst and the data scientist provided to Sheila, she carried out her own analysis. Since Chioma has told me already that employee training is a key factor, let me check and find out to see what insights can I get from that. So when she carried out her analysis, she found out that the regions that had the highest sales came from locations where the employee had gone for training in the last 1 year. So locations where employees had gone for training in the last 1 year, those locations had higher revenue generation, higher revenue generated from those particular regions. So that was a key insight that Sheila was able to identify from her own analysis. Also speaking to the data analyst and the data scientist. Eventually, what happened? They came up with 2 recommendations to the company. And they said the first recommendation is, we're going to implement a targeted program, training program across the business and ensure that employees have regular training in certain aspects of the business to help optimize the performance. The second recommendation they came up with was that there were certain product combinations that Chioma had recommended that needed to be available across all the different stores, because Chioma had seen the trend that when a customer buys a particular product, they tend to buy the other product. So they implemented these 2 recommendations. And within the space of a year, their revenue grew by 70% by just doing 2 things. First of all, product combinations, ensuring that all those products were put in the same, close together in the same location in the store. So when a customer goes and they try to buy one of those products, they see the other product side by side, so they can easily pick that as well. All right. So they did that, and that increased revenue by 70%. And this is how, in an organization, a data team of a data engineer, Kenny, who provided the data in the first place, all right? The data existed in different systems, different applications on the websites. He brought all the data into a single location called the data warehouse, so that BC, the data analyst, could access that data warehouse and get the data for the analysis. Chioma, who was a data scientist, could also identify trends and patterns and build a predictive model to predict what the revenue would look like based on the training performance of the employees and also the product combination in that store. The HR analyst, Sheila, was able to have conversations with the data analyst and the data scientist and take the people-related data, looking at the training of employees within the different regions, and identify that the regions that had the highest revenue were the regions where you had the employees that had gone for training over the last 1 year. And by coming up together with these recommendations, they increased the company's revenue by 70%. And that's the beauty of working in a data team in a company. So as a data engineer, what do you do? What are the type of projects you work on? Your fundamental objective, like I said, just like what Kenny did in this particular case study, is to get data from wherever the data is to where the data needs to be. So you are moving data from one location to a central location, most of the time in a data warehouse, so that other stakeholders like the data analyst, the data scientist, the HR analyst, the financial analyst can have access to that data. So you start by learning introduction to data engineering, understanding what data engineering is all about. And when we tell people that, look, the program is designed for beginners, you don't need any experience. All right, you don't need any experience. You can join the program even as a newbie without any background. Then you have the opportunity to start right from the beginning to get insights into what a data engineer does. And from there, you move on to more advanced and more complex aspects. Okay. Second thing you have to learn is SQL. That's the second tool. And I always say that for anybody in data, SQL is absolutely important. And as a data engineer, this would be the bedrock of your skill Okay, you need to know how to create data warehouses, moving data, interacting with databases using SQL, structured query language. You'd also learn how to use Python programming to create your ETL pipelines. When you move data from a location to the data warehouse, you need to come up with something we call ETL, extract, transform, and load. Okay, ensuring that the data is in the right shape, it moves and goes through a particular stage until it moves and gets into the data warehouse. You'd also learn how to use Linux for your scripting and so on and so forth. You'd learn how to you'd create your custom ETL pipelines, you connect to APIs to get data from different databases. You'd learn how to use technologies like Apache Spark. You learn how to orchestrate and schedule using Airflow. All right. So when you create these pipelines, you want to ensure that the jobs and the different movement of the data through the pipelines are done in an automated fashion. You don't have to do it manually all the time. You automate the process eventually. You'd also learn AWS cloud engineering, all right, Amazon Web Services, which is one of the mostly used cloud-based platform in the cloud ecosystem. So you learn how to use AWS and version control using GitHub. Now, as a data engineer, you'd find yourself among a category of people with a set of unique skills. Now, in the past, until very recently, the people you'd find as data engineers are software engineers who eventually transitioned into data engineering. Okay, so as a data engineer, your skill is very high in demand. And I was telling, I think it was Olu I was telling yesterday that I got a call from somebody in Nigeria where they were trying to recruit 2 data engineers in Nigeria, right? Now, they reached out to me to recommend somebody to them. Okay, I didn't recommend those people, as fast as they wanted me to. They reached out to me 2 weeks after to say that they still haven't gotten somebody who has data engineering skills. And that's the scarcity of the skills. You don't have a lot of people with the skills to work as a data engineer. You really don't have a lot of people who have, all this tech stack that can come up with creative ways to extract data from different systems, applications, locations, and move the data into a data warehouse. Eventually, I recommended 2 people from the Tenalytics data engineering program to them. They went through the interview process and so on and so forth. As a data engineer across the major economies, you are earning 6 figures right off the bat. In the US, it's $114,000 US. In the UK, it's about 60,000 pounds, and in Canada, 92,000 Canadian dollars. And this is the average, right? You can earn a lot higher than this. And how long does it take for you to become a data engineer? 4 months, all right? 3 months project-based classes, and then 1 month internship. So you'd learn how to use Draw.io to, first of all, create your ERD, all right? Your entity relationship diagram. You'd learn how to use Python. You'd learn how to use SQL, Pandas, which is a library in Python. You'd learn how to use Apache Airflow, Apache Spark, AWS. Learn how to also use tools like ChatGPT to streamline your processes and ensure that you are efficient when coming up with solutions. Also learn how to use ChatGPT for your error handling and check for errors and troubleshooting for errors as well. And that's for the data engineering. Now, looking at the case study, without the data analyst cannot do her job, all right? So the data analyst exists to help the company answer key questions and solve problems using the data generated by that company, all right? Now, as the data analyst, your fundamental skill is problem solving, because you need to even know where the problem is or why the problem exists. If you don't know how to solve the problem, then you're probably not solving the correct problem. So identifying the root cause of the problem, getting to where the problem is, eventually knowing the right type of tools to use. Do I use Excel for this? Do I use Power BI? What exactly do I deploy to solve this particular problem? Okay, so you learn how to, the CRISP-DM framework, to work around analytics related projects. Okay, that's the cross-industry standard process for data mining. You'll understand the different process from the business issue, understanding what the issue is related to that particular business, all right? And then moving into the data understanding. Do we have the data or not? Is the data internal? Do we need to get it externally? And so on and so forth. And then you move to data preparation. All right. So if the data exists, where can we get it? If it doesn't exist, how can we gather the data, and so on and so forth? So you'd understand that process, the CRISP-DM process, from when to start to when you deploy a particular project. And you learn all of that under problem solving. That's absolutely critical for a data analyst. Then you move on to Excel. Excel for analytics, understanding how to use Excel to summarize your data, using different tools like your pivot tables, your pivot charts, creating different visuals and dashboards to make sense of the data that you have. And of course, like I said, you can't run away from SQL. It's absolutely important for a data analyst. You can't run away from it because you need to know how to interact with databases. Power BI for your data analytics, your data visualization, automating your reports in Power BI, sending those reports to the different key stakeholders, interactive dashboards that they can, click on something and they see different areas of the business at a glance. You'd learn how to use Power BI. You'd learn how to use Tableau for data analytics as well. A lot of people have asked me the question, why learn Power BI and Tableau at the same time? And I always answer it like this. Now, Power BI and Tableau would pretty much do the same thing in terms of their capabilities. However, you'd find some job roles that would require or have a preference for Power BI. They would need you to know Power BI. Now, imagine you find yourself in that situation. You don't know how to use Power BI, but you know Tableau, all right? So your chances of applying to so many jobs out there would be limited. But understanding Power BI and Tableau, irrespective of the preference of that company, you know that you have the skills in the two top BI tools, Power BI and Tableau. So that does not limit your opportunities. You have a wider range of jobs you can apply to out there. You learn data storytelling. How do you tell a story from the data that you have to guide the stakeholders to take a decision? Now you've done your dashboarding, you've come up with your reports, all the technical things you've done. Nobody really wants to know about it. What they want to know is, what decision do we need to take? And can you walk me through the story, a logical standpoint that would guide us from where the problem is to what we need to do? All right. ChatGPT for analytics, of course, what type of prompts? You'd learn about prompt engineering. What type of questions do I need to ask ChatGPT to give me a specific type of feedback? Okay. So you'd learn how to use ChatGPT to make your work a lot faster, a lot seamless, a lot more effective and efficient, most especially. You'd also learn Microsoft Fabric. And these are new technologies, but we've added them to the curriculum of the program simply because as the industry changes, because the industry is very dynamic. The tech ecosystem is very, very dynamic. You learn something this year, by next year, you have so many changes. And for people that have joined our program, even in January, they did not get the opportunity to learn Microsoft Fabric, ChatGPT for analytics, because they are new inclusions. And that's how we also move with the trend to ensure that when you have new technologies introduced to the space, how can people within the community of Tenalytics also benefit from it, right? So you learn Fabric, Microsoft Fabric, which is an all-in-one platform for analytics. So you have different analytics, materials to help come up with solutions. It's usually enterprise-based. So organizations today have started migrating to Fabric. So your understanding of how to leverage Microsoft Fabric puts you at an advantage over somebody else who you're applying to the same job with. All right. As a data analyst, your average salary in the UK is about £40,000. In Canada is about 64,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US is about 72,000 US dollars. And how long does it take for you to learn to become a data analyst? 4 months. All right. You'd learn in a project-based environment for 3 months and then 1 month internship. You're going to build projects. And your internship, like I mentioned, is a simulated work environment where you're working on projects to solve problems, real-world projects. The current project people are working on, I'll show you what the project is all about. It's a project for a real company here in the UK. The company currently has a problem, and then we got their data. Of course, we codified the data to address data privacy issues, and the participants that joined our data analytics, HR analytics are collaborating to solving that problem for the company. It's a real life case study, right? So as a data scientist, what do you need to know? What do you need to learn? A data scientist is taking it a step further from what the data analyst would be doing. The data analyst focuses mainly on descriptive, okay, pardon my handwriting, descriptive and diagnostic, all right? That's what the data analyst does, okay? What has happened in the company? How much did we generate? Why did we have a shortfall between January and February? In January, we made 1 billion. In February, we made 500 million. Why that change in revenue? All right. So descriptive is answering the question, what happened? What's the situation? And that's where you'd see a lot of dashboards created. Dashboards to show increase in revenue, sales trend, budget shortfall, and so on and so forth. Diagnostic is going a bit further to find out why it happened. If we had an increase or we had a decrease, why did it happen? So that we can address the issues. If we have an increase, why do we have an increase? So whatever strategies we deployed, we can double down on that, optimize that strategy, maximize it to ensure that we keep on getting increased revenue. That's what the data analyst does. However, the data scientist takes it a bit further from descriptive and diagnostic to predictive. So the data scientist will be doing what? Predictive analytics, which is simply what is likely going to happen. All right. So what would happen in the future? And to know what would happen in the future, you are definitely using forecasting techniques, building machine learning models, and all of this is hinged on statistics. And that's where your journey would start as a data scientist. Statistics. You'd learn how to use statistics to solve problems. So the statistics you learned in high school and even in your first year in university, that seemed like gibberish. You just needed to learn it just to pass. You'd start to see how statistics make sense, okay? How things as simple as the mean, median, and mode, the measure of central tendency, how it becomes very important to you solving problems in the real world. That's where you'd start from as a data scientist. And then you'd move into forecasting and predictive analytics using Excel. So the Excel you'd learn as a data scientist is a bit different from a data analyst. Yes, you do a couple of things that a data analyst would do, but your focus is on what? Forecasting, looking into the future. What will happen in the future? Leveraging different techniques and different forecasting methods, the exponential smoothing method, the moving average, the naive approach to forecasting, and so on and so forth. You'd also learn how to use Tableau for data analytics in line with predictive analytics. That's the focus of your Tableau classes in the full stack data science program. You'd also learn how to use SQL. Like I mentioned, you'd learn the language, you'd learn SQL to ensure that you can interact with databases. You can't run away from it. And SQL is one of the easiest languages you would ever learn in the tech world, in the tech ecosystem. SQL is one of the easiest. You'd also learn Python. Of course, Python is that fundamental foundation that all those other skills you'll be learning as a data scientist would eventually settle on Python. All right, because you would use Python to do a lot of the analysis you'll be doing, your exploratory data analysis, your data visualization, even building your machine learning models. You'll be leveraging Python to do that. And you'd also learn computer vision, all right? You'd learn how to build programs that can recognize objects. Okay, now if you look at me on this call, you'd see that I have a background, I have a banner on my background. And I'm not fading into the background simply because my camera can identify me. Zoom has a computer vision program designed to identify human beings so that the human beings are focused on, all right, as opposed to any other object. I have objects behind me, but you would not see those objects. Why? Because my camera identifies that I'm a human being and I'm meant to only identify the human being on the call. So this is a typical example of computer vision, and you'll be building programs like this: object detection, pose detection, and so on and so forth. What does it take to become a data scientist? In the UK, you'd earn about £50,000, fantastic salary, and that's the average, on the average. In Canada, is about 94,000 Canadian dollars, and in the US, another six figures, 121,000 US dollars. Again, like I mentioned, the data scientist is a phenomenal value in any company because you cannot just see what is happening in the company or why that is happening. You can see what will happen in the future. So the companies can plan, they can design products, they can design different, services and products to fit into what the customers would want based on the insights from the data scientists. Looking at the case study I gave, an overview of a few minutes ago, Chioma, who was a data scientist, was able to do two things. The first one was she identified that when customers buy a particular product, they tend to buy the second product. So what did the company do about that? They took those two products and put them side by side so that the customer would not have to look for the second product when they buy the first one. All right? That increased their sales. Secondly, she was also able to find out that the locations where you had the highest revenues were the locations where employees were trained within the last 1 year. So she was able to identify that pattern across an entire data where you could get very confused. And that's the power of the data scientist. And these are the tools you need to learn. And how long does it take you to become a data scientist? 4 months project-based program, 3 months project-based classes, and 1 month virtual internship. And like I mentioned, the internship is where you get to work on amazing projects, super amazing projects, real life case studies where you get into an interview and then you can showcase all the things you've done. You'd have your GitHub repository that warehouses all your projects. Put that on your CV. You'll have a link on your CV where once your CV has gone through the ATS system and they invite you for an interview, they can access all the projects you've worked on and see the quality of the projects you've been involved with or you've been involved in. And that gives you, a major chance to land in a job. And last but not the least is the HR analytics. And like I mentioned, the HR analyst in a company is that individual that can make sense of people-related data. So they take people data and they can analyze that data to identify issues, identify trends, and come up with solutions to those problems, right? To ensure that when they deploy policies, those policies stick and those policies actually solve a problem. So gone are the days where you have HR professionals in a company simply just tracking who is going on leave, who is coming back from leave, and so on and so forth. Today, you have HR analytics professionals who can identify people that are likely going to resign. Identify people that are likely going to resign and the factors leading to those people resignation, right? And what do they do eventually? They are able to set up something you call stay interviews. Organizations are used to exit interviews after people have left the company. All right. So how do you identify that some people are about to leave and nip it in the bud by having stay interviews with those employees to ensure that you bring down your turnover rates, you bring down employee attrition, and so on and so forth. So you learn problem solving, you learn Excel, Power BI, SQL, you learn HR analytics and performance evaluation, HR metrics and life cycle, the different HR metrics you need to measure absenteeism, attrition, your turnover rates, your talent management optimization, and so on and so forth. HR analysis and dashboarding, learning how to create dashboards using different tools like Excel, Power BI. You'd also learn how to automate your reports and collaborate with other data professionals within the company, which is what we consider very important at 10Analytics. Like I mentioned, the real life case study we are working on for a real life client, a real life company. The problem is being solved by the data analyst and the HR analyst. They are working together in a team to come up with those solutions. Building your case and creating action, and of course, ChatGPT for analytics as well. So as a HR analytics professional in the UK, you tend to earn an average of about £32,000. In Canada, about 71,000 Canadian dollars. And in the US, about 62,000 US dollars. And it takes you 4 months to get into HR analytics. 3 months project-based classes and 1 month internship. I can't overemphasize the importance of the internship. All right. This presenter is a data warehouse. Oh, Stephen. Thank you for that, Stephen. All right. Different cost implications. I'm getting to that, Kufre, don't worry. We're getting to the cost implications. It's very important to know what the different roles entail, because people always ask, oh, I always thought that data analysts only build dashboards. No, that's not the case. Data analysts solve problems for the company. All right. So what problem does the company have? How can I use data to solve that problem? So it's important to understand the different roles within the ecosystem so you can make a decision and make a choice. So your learning roadmap with us at 10Analytics, first of all, you have project-based live classes, an average of about 2 months. So some programs you'd have your 2 months project-based classes or 3 months project-based classes, and then you have your 1 month virtual internship. The virtual internship is guaranteed across all the programs because of its importance and how we've seen over the last few years on the importance on helping people to get jobs. Because those projects you come up with, you solve and you showcase, they serve as your work experience eventually. So when you go into an interview and they ask you questions on, tell me how you've used data to solve a problem, you are going to present yourself as an employee of 10Analytics, not a learner. All right. So like the people working on the project with that company here in the UK, like I mentioned, when they get into an interview, they are data analytics consultants. They are not learners. So you become an employee when you train with us, and the experience you garner over 4 months become your work experience. So when you get into an interview and a recruiter asks you questions around what have you done within the data space, how have you used data to solve a problem, tell me about a time you have gotten data from a particular system and moved it into a data warehouse. You talk about things in a way, from the perspective of somebody that has done it before, and not theories or theoretical concepts that you'd struggle to keep on explaining without evidence that you've actually done it. Your sessions are virtual instructor-led classes where you have your trainer, just like I'm on the call with you, we'll work on projects together. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is on the fact that our professionals, the professionals that work with you, are experienced within the industry. So these are not people that learned on YouTube or learned on Coursera or learned on any platform. No, these are people that are currently doing the job. All right. So like you saw Seun, you saw Michael, these are industry professionals. And those are the people that will work with you to help you make that transition, because you'll be learning or you'll be gaining two things by learning from industry professionals. Number one is experiential learning. All right. Experiential learning is simply you learning from working on projects. You'd also get to learn from the experience of your trainers. So I can tell you multiple projects that I've worked on before, all right, and give you practical experiences to how it plays out in the real world. What is practical, what is accepted, what is not accepted, what you should expect, and so on and so forth. And that's the advantage you get over somebody who learns on a platform somewhere as opposed to industry professionals, right? Your classes are also flexible. Your live classes where you have a trainer on the call with you working on projects together, that happens on Saturdays. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., all right, based on your location. And on Sunday, you have something we call the Watch Me Do It videos. The Watch Me Do It videos are bite-sized videos that you get to watch on Sunday. So it's flexible on Sunday for you. You don't have live classes. So you can relax at your own convenience. You get to watch the videos, understand the concepts, practice the things you see in the video ahead of the next live class on Saturday. All right. 3 programs have classes on Sundays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And those programs are the data engineering, the Power Platform engineering, and business analysis. So if you register for our business analysis program, the data engineering program, or the Power Platform engineering program, you'd have live classes on Saturdays and Sundays. All right. Data analytics, data science, HR analytics, financial analytics, your classes are only on Saturdays. The live classes are on Saturdays. Your Watch Me Do It videos are on Sundays. No live class on Sunday. Sunday, you get to watch videos created by your trainers, by your facilitators. You get to practice the things you see in those videos. And then you prepare ahead of your project, the following class on Saturday. Now, one of the things we also do, which is to make you job ready, is recruitment hack sessions. Now, Michael talked about branding. Seun emphasized on branding. And I'll tell you today, if you don't get anything out of this session, take this away from the session, all right? You would struggle to get a job in the tech industry without branding and positioning yourself. Your technical skill, all the things I've listed, what you need to learn as a data engineer, as a data analyst, as a data scientist, that's amounts to just 50% of the requirements. The other 50%, which is even just as important, if not more important, I'll be diving into that in a few seconds. So these recruitment hack sessions has been the strategy we at Tenalytics have deployed that has made us so successful. So when we say we've helped 1,000 people to get their first jobs in tech, moving from different job functions, from an accountant to a data analyst, from a baker to a business analyst, from a lawyer to a data scientist, from a medical doctor to a data engineer, how have we been able to help them get their first jobs? That's the recruitment hack sessions. And I'll speak about it in a few seconds. So like I mentioned, 50% are your technical skill. What would eventually help you get your job are these 7 key areas. 7 key areas. Number 1 is your CV review. You need to have a top-notch CV. You need to have a CV that can beat the ATS system, the applicant tracking system. You need to know how to structure your CV for somebody who is new. Let's take, for example, you have 15 years banking experience, but now you want to transition into HR analytics, or you want to transition into financial analytics. how do you make that transition? What happens to your CV? Do you leave your banking experience let's take, for example, you're a bank teller. Do you leave your experience as a bank teller and present yourself as somebody who has just started data analytics? The answer is no, because you will not get a job easily going that route. So you need to know how to tailor your CV. You need to know how to add data analytics to your previous experience in a way that it communicates to the recruiter that you are not new within that space. And I'll tell you for a fact, and take it to the bank, no employer wants to know your certificate or where you studied. It's absolutely irrelevant. Irrelevant 100%. Now, if they put me and they put you, they give us a case study to solve. All right, we are recruiting for the position of a data scientist. Build a machine learning model using, let's say, using logistic regression to predict this. They give us the case study, the both of us, and I build my model, very detailed, absolutely fantastic. I have very good accuracy with my model. You build the same model, or you struggle to even build something that makes sense. Who gets the job? So all the things you have on your CV, or all the things you've said you've done, or all the certificates you've gathered becomes useless if you cannot solve that problem you'll be given during the assessment center. Every employer wants to see what you can do. You'll always be tested during an assessment center, and that's where your CV should properly represent you, because that's your representation in paper format. All right. Number two, I'm going to speed through the rest so we can get to the program fee and when the next cohort starts. Number two is your LinkedIn optimization. You need to have a LinkedIn profile that attracts the best organization out there. All right. Number three is Upwork optimization. You need to be able to compete for jobs outside your location, outside your region, because you've learned a global skill. You are a global talent. You need to compete for jobs across the globe. And Upwork is a platform that gives you the opportunity to get jobs, work on projects across multiple locations. Just like Michael said, he was working from Nigeria for a US company. All right. I'll share some success stories of people that work in Nigeria, from Ilorin, Kwara State, from Lagos in Nigeria. We have somebody that lives in, where is this place called? Badagry, and works for Alfa Romeo, the car manufacturer in the US. And he got his job through Upwork, working with the supply chain manager, helping him make sense of the data that they have. So Upwork is a platform where you get to apply to jobs, apply to projects, and you solve those projects for them and you get paid. All right. So we help you set up your Upwork profile if you don't have one. If you have one, we help you optimize so you get the best jobs available out there. Navigating the job market. How do you apply to jobs? What are the different career pathways available to you? Currently, our participants are undergoing a session with a professional, an immigration expert, telling them the different pathways available. A lot of people here didn't know about the global talent until Michael mentioned it. The global talent is a different pathway that a lot of people have leveraged to get into the country, to get into the UK. All right. The global talent. Also, how do you transition if you're a master's student into a skilled worker visa? These are areas people have no clue. And just like what Seun said earlier, because you see a Nigerian, yes, it's very good to network, it's fantastic, but you have to be careful. You have to be careful about the information you consume, because it's very easy to find yourself in the midst of people who tell you that, look, there are no jobs available unless you follow a particular path. And that's what I call the herd mentality. Everybody following one single path to, get to a destination. All right. So there are so many ways, so many opportunities available. So we hold these sessions called Navigating the Job Market to help you identify those issues. All right. We are currently working with somebody here in the UK. He mentioned that he lost his job in February. And since February till date, he has not gotten a single interview. All right. And that means there is something fundamentally wrong. I looked at his CV and there's so many mistakes, so many errors with the CV. We are currently working on that. And we are currently looking for different other options on how he can apply to jobs to get requests. Okay. And these are the ways we work with individuals based on their own current situation to help them get the best opportunity. And of course, you have reference and recommendations. Organizations would want to know who you have worked with, all right? Who can vouch for you? Who is that company that can say that you have these skills, you've done this before, and so on and so forth. So you need that person to stand as a referee. And we've done this so many times, too many times for people, not just work references or recommendations, even masters. You are going for your masters, for example. Your masters is in maybe business analytics or data science, or you're going for a PhD, and then you've not worked in that capacity before. You have a different professional experience, but you want to learn something within the analytics area. We write a reference for you that you've gone through our training program, and these are the skills you have learned, and then you eventually get your admission offer. We've done that for so many people. And of course, job and interview preparation. And this is where I would say a lot of people fall short. You go into an interview and blab about simple questions like introduce yourself, tell me about yourself, all right? Tell me about a time you have used data to come up with a talent management strategy. And you start going A to Z to B without a structured approach to answering the questions. I've seen so many things, and I'll tell you for a fact that questions as simple as introduce yourself or tell me about yourself, people can't answer the question, right? And that's why we have so many techniques we'll teach you so that you prepare your answers to those questions, all right? The SEAT approach, the STAR approach to answering competency-based questions, SEAT approach to how to introduce yourself, S for skills, E for experience, A for achievements, and T for traits. You follow that particular, construct, and you are able to introduce yourself in a logical manner and in a compelling way as well. Now, last but not the least is the weekly mentorship sessions, all right? And this is where you get to work with industry experts. Myself, the co-founder, Ifemena, who was here earlier, you get to listen to people like Sheung, you get to listen to people like Michael. We bring in founders, CEOs, co-founders of top tech companies across the globe who have also played a major part within the tech ecosystem. So it's easy for you to see people that have done this following the same pathway. What we also do is to bring people who have gone through our program and have gotten jobs, remote jobs across the different locations. They come back to take questions. Oh, how did you do it? All right. You also went through the same system. I'm going through that process. How can I get the best out of it? How did you get your job? What were the questions asked? Those are the things you get during the mentorship session. Because guess what? Not having mentorship is one of the things that will slow down your transitioning journey. Trust me, not having that person to ask a question to say, what do I do? This is where I'm at this point in time. I've been getting rejections. I was actually so shocked when Michael said he counted the number of rejections he got, 750 something. That is ridiculous. Any other person, and if you listen carefully, Michael also mentioned that he has a mentor. All right. So what a mentor does is simple. The mentor will tell you that, look, it is normal to have rejections. The best of the best gets rejections. However, the resilience to keep it going is what is absolutely important. All right. Now, and all those areas I talked about, the 7 areas are part of the program. So any program you register for, you get all these services for free. All right. And of course, I talked about learning with industry professionals. So for example, they're going to learn with Seun, who is a business analyst with Visa. Most of you would either use a MasterCard or a Visa card or American Express. Seun worked with Visa as a business analyst. You'd work with Obina, who is a data scientist in Canada. You'd work with Femena, who is a business data support lead in the UK. You'd work with myself. I'm in the UK as well. You'd work with Nene, who works with Zelos, a Nike licensee here in the UK. You'd also work with Nena, who's a product manager in the UK. You'd work with Kelvin, a data engineer in Nigeria. And not just Kelvin, you'd work with Timmy, who's worked with Konga as a data engineer and has also worked with several companies in the US, working remotely. You'd work with Abdurrahman Teniola, who works with the Big Four as a customer and digital analyst in the UK. For the HR guys, you'd work with Emmanuel, who is the head of HR at Pedable, and so on and so forth. You are learning from the best in the business. So you get the best in terms of how to transition, all right? And what does it take to be a part of the program, to join our program at 10Analytics? The next cohort starts on the 2nd of September, all right? And the investment you need to make to be a part of the program is 600 Canadian dollars if you're paying in Canadian dollars, or 400 pounds if you're paying in pounds, or 320,000 Naira if you're paying in Naira. Right now, when I held a session about 2 days ago, the discounts, because we always run discounts for people who are interested, because like I said, the goal for us is to bring in as many Africans and people of the Black community into tech. So the discount ended on the 18th, but we had to extend the discount because so many people had to call to say, look, please, I'm just waiting until I get my salary so I can be a part of the program. Can you extend the discounts for us? So we extended the discounts by 1 week, all right? The early bird discount, we should have ended on the 18th, yesterday of August, all right? So instead of paying 600 Canadian dollars or 400 pounds or 320,000 Naira to be a part of any of the programs from 1 to 6, rather than paying 600 Canadian dollars, you get to pay 500. Rather than paying 320,000 Naira, you get to pay 270. That's the discounted fee. And instead of paying 400 pounds, you get to pay 300 pounds. Now, to also make it easier for you to be a part of the program, you can make your payment in 2 installments. The first installment is 350 Canadian dollars, and then you pay the 150 1 month after the program commences. 270,000 Naira, you're paying in Naira, you pay 180 to be a part, to join the program. You receive a welcome kit. The welcome kit contains all the materials. Your lesson plan contains all the applications you need to download, the guide for you to download these applications. And 1 month into the program, you pay the 90,000 balance. And if you're paying in pounds, if you're in the UK, you want to be a part of the program, 200 pounds will get you registered and get you started. And 1 month into the program, you pay the 100 pounds balance to complete the payment for the program. Now, the only difference in fee is the data engineering. And that's because of the technologies you'll be learning and the technicality of some of the tools you would also be deploying. Like I said, data engineering is a fantastic career path for those who would want to get into data engineering. And for data engineers, you get snapped off the job market as fast as the snap of a finger because of the uniqueness of the skills you'll be learning. To be a part of data engineering, 600 Canadian dollars, that's the discounted fee, or 350,000 Naira, which is also the discounted fee, all right? So you can also make payments in 2 installments. You are paying in Canadian dollars, 450 to get into the class, and 150 1 month into the program. 250,000 Naira, you're paying in Naira, and then 100,000 Naira 1 month into the program. And if you're paying in pounds, 400 pounds to be a part, join the discounted fee, 300 to get started, receive your welcome kits, and then 100 pounds 1 month into the program. All right. So how do you make payments? My colleagues would share the link and the details for you, but all you need to do is to click on this link. Oh, sorry about that. I'll just go back to that slide. All right, so all you have to do is to click on this link. It takes you into this page. I'll just quickly show you this, and then I'll show you the platform where you have all the materials, because people always ask, oh, when I join, if I miss a class, what happens? So I'll show you the platform where you have your recordings, your class materials, the type of projects you're going to work on, and so on and so forth. So you click on the link, it takes you into this page. You have access to all the program brochures. You want to see all the details of the programs I have listed today. You can do that by clicking on this. And of course, to make your payments, you can make payments in multiple currencies to make it easy for you. All right. If you're paying in Naira, you can pay using your debit card or your credit card through Paystack. All you have to do is click on this link that says full or first part payments. All right, so if I click on this, it takes me into where you'd see all the programs. All right, so let's take, for example, I'm interested in data analytics. All I have to do is click on data analytics. It brings me here. I'll choose my option if I want to pay full payment or part payment. If I click here, I can choose full payment, and then I have the discounted fee of 270, which will elapse on the 25th of August. If I want to make my part payment, I click on that, I select part payment, and then I have 180. I can pay the part payment to be a part of the program and get started. I add this to my bag, and then I go to checkout, add my details, and then I get into the program. All right. Now, for those who are not in Nigeria, or you don't want to pay in Naira, you're in the UK, for example, or you're somewhere in Europe, you're in Sweden, or you're in Poland, you can make payments using PayPal. All right. So using the PayPal, you can make the full payment or the part payment. So if I want to make the full payment, for example, I click on full payment, and then it shows me £300. So it really doesn't matter. Let's take, for example, you are living somewhere in Poland, and then you spend euros. It doesn't matter. You can pay, if you make your payment in euros, you still pay the £300. So don't look at the fact that, oh, I have pounds here, I'm not paying in pounds. So with this pound amount, you can pay using your euro card, your dollar card, or any currency that you have. So if I click on buy now, all I need to do is to click on PayPal, and then it takes me into where, if you have a PayPal account, fantastic, you can get to pay, enter your password, and you can get to pay using PayPal, or simply click on pay by debit or credit card if you don't have a PayPal account. So if I click on pay by debit or credit card, it takes me into where I enter my details. I enter my country or region, my email address, my phone number, and all of that. And then I make payments to be a part of the program. And once we confirm your payment, you receive a welcome kit that contains all the materials in terms of the applications you need to download, videos to explain how to download and install those applications, and you have your lesson plan. When class starts on the 2nd, what time your class would start, and when your program would end as well. All right. So once, if you've made payments using pound, for example, for those who would want to make payments using a direct transfer, you also have our UK bank account details, and also the Naira bank account, which is a Fidelity bank account. So you can send us a direct payment. Now, the direct payments are usually for those who say, oh, I want to make payments, but I don't have the 180,000 for the first payment. Can I pay 150? Can I pay 100,000 as my first payment? And the answer is yes. All right. So when you make the first payment, or let's take, for example, the first payment in Naira is meant to be 180, but then you make the payment of 100,000. The expectation is before the class starts on the 2nd of September, you complete the balance of 80,000 to make it 180. The advantage you get is the moment you pay 100,000, for example, you lock in your discount. So even after the 25th of August, you can just pay the balance of 80,000 to complete 180. So you still get the opportunity to lock in your discount in that regard, because we get that question all the time. Oh, I'm going to receive my salary on this particular date. What can I do? All right. So those are the options available. And of course, you also have the bank account details here for the Nigeria. If you're paying in pounds, you have the UK bank account, or if you're paying in Naira, you have the Naira bank account as well. I'm going to take questions in the chat because I can see you have questions coming up. Okay. Like I mentioned, the discount ends on the 25th of August. All right. 25th of August, which is next week, Friday, if I'm correct, or Thursday. I'm not sure of the exact date, but on the 25th of August is when the discount ends. I'm just quickly going to run through in 2 minutes some success stories, and then we'll take questions and I'll show you what the platform looks like, and then we'll call it a day. Or let me see if Mena is still here. Maybe if you would want, if are you still on the call with us? If you'd want to show us the platform while I quickly run through the testimonial. All right. Now, people ask questions that, oh, I don't know if these jobs are available. All right. Which was a question Ifemena also asked Sheung and Michael. All right. Are these jobs available? This is Sunday. Sunday joined our full stack data science program. All right. And Sunday got a job as a regulatory data analyst, even while he was still in the program. Before the completion of the program, he got a job as a regulatory data analyst here in the UK. All right. And of course, he was sending us a message to say, I got my contract offer, as a regulatory data analyst and so on. You have Nathaniel. Nathaniel works as a data scientist with Boehringer, one of the world's largest private research pharmaceutical firm in Spain. He works with them as a data scientist. And if you look at Nathaniel's message to Mohammed, who is one of our senior data associates, he said, I got the job, man. Got a confirmation now. Thank you so much for your help. So Mohammed worked with Nathaniel during his interview preparation. Okay, these are the questions you need to look out for. When he received this case study, they worked on it together to ensure that he had a fantastic presentation. Now you have Amaka, who works as a business support analyst with one of the councils here in the UK after completing our data analytics program. All right, Amaka joined our program in January or February this year, and she currently she got a job as a business support analyst with one of the councils here in the UK. You have Desola. Desola currently works with the NHS as a business analyst after completing our business analysis program. Desola also sent in a message when she had a presentation, all right? She shared her presentation with me. I went through the presentation and I told her that the presentation was fantastic. She had worked with the data associate for our business analysis program who helped her to prepare for that presentation. And this is Desola sending me the message saying that, hello, Adeza. I'm pleased to inform you that I got the job with the NHS. Thank you so much for your efforts, and I'm very grateful. But she needed to have a conversation. So the conversation we had opened up a lot of insights into how the interview went, all right? But just to put it in summary, when they ask questions around the technical aspect of business analysis, Desola scored 100%. She was the best candidate. She was the best candidate for the technical part. The only area where she was told that she didn't do as well as the other candidates was the specific questions related to the NHS. All right. And that's simply because the job opening was available to both internal and external applicants. So you had internal applicants working with the NHS also applying to that role. But Desola got the role because she was the best when it came to the business analysis questions that were asked. Now you have Benga, who is in Poland. And Benga's story is also very interesting. And that's simply because Benga had been in Poland since 2021, trying to get a job across different job roles. He's been applying, but nothing was forthcoming. He joined the program. He worked with myself and 3 other data associates and facilitators that helped him during his interview. And this is Benga sending me a message, boss, I just got the job. I was like, wow, congratulations, right? He said, also, your team has been very helpful, especially with the background check. Now, the background check is something that people ignore, but it's very, very important. When you get that job, the recruiter would want to know who you have worked with, who can vouch for you, who can step as a referee to provide a recommendation. How many times has he missed work in the last, while he was working with you? Did he have any disciplinary issues? They would ask those questions. Can you tell us in what capacity did he work with you? And so on and so forth. And we give you the most compelling recommendations. Obviously, you've gone through our program and we know the depth of the skills you've learned with us. He was telling me that I really want to say I appreciate this opportunity you gave to me. And I was simply telling Benga that, look, you took the leap by joining 10Analytics. So congratulations for this job. Remind you, Benga also got 3 more offers. So apart from the offer he eventually selected, he had 3 more offers. All right. And of course, he went for the one that gave him the best salary, remote work, hybrid work, where he didn't have to go to the office all the time. And this was Benga's story. You also have Steven. Steven is also somebody that we worked with. He used to work as a customer experience professional with Tesco. Today, he works as a junior data analyst with the Access Group in the UK. You have Sheila, you have Whistling. Whistling also used to, she had never worked in data in her life. Today, she works with Shell in the UK. Whistling's story is also phenomenal. And of course, we had conversations. I worked with her during our interview preparation, sent her materials, and she was sending me a message when she got the job. Hello, Adeza. I just to update you on the outcome of the interview, I'm pleased to let you know that I have been offered the position at Shell. I want to say thank you so much for everything. It's amazing to have found a position 4 months after completing the course and internship. All right. So just like some people who complete the job, who get a job before completing the program, some people take 2, 3, 4 months to get a job. The most important thing is to keep on applying until you get that role. Bawa is saying, I'm from Ghana. So Bawa, what I would advise you to do is a lot of participants join from Ghana. All right. And they make payments using Paystack. That's the best option for you because PayPal is not available in Ghana. The best option for you is to pay using Paystack. All right. We have so many participants currently in our September class. All right. Because we've been having these type of sessions over the last 2 weeks. So we have so many people registered already. A lot of them are from Ghana, Bawa, and they make payments using the Paystack option. All right. So try the Paystack option and you should be able to make payments using Paystack from Ghana. If you have any issues, all you have to do is just send us a message to any of the numbers you have on the screen over here. Okay, send us a message and somebody would help you address any issues that you have. All right, you can just take a screenshot of this page. You have any challenges, any issues, send us a message and we'll work with you to help you resolve it. So there are so many success stories. It would be a hassle going through every single thing. You're going to get the recording. You're going to get the slide. When you get them, take your time, read the different slides, check the different testimonials, and get to see the stories of amazing individuals who have joined our program and are doing absolutely fantastic job within the space. Idris, for example, currently works with Jaguar Land Rover in Coventry here in the UK as a data engineer after training with us. And these are the type of people. We are so proud of them. Chizoba works with the NHS. Ebube works with the NHS as a data scientist. Abdul Rashid works from Ilorin in Nigeria, Kwara State, working for a company in the US, Chow 420 as a data scientist, earning in dollars, spending in Naira. You have Victor as well. Victor works as a people operations analyst after completing our HR analytics program. He works with Hugo in Chicago, Illinois, as a people operations analyst, working from Lagos, Nigeria, working for the company in the US, working remotely, obviously, just like what Michael was doing before he moved to the UK. So people always ask, can I work remotely? Is it possible or not? Yes, it is possible. All right. So you have Maureen, you have Thelma, Rafiat, you have Solomon, you have Victor, so many people. Please take out time to look at all what they've been able to accomplish. I'm going to take a few minutes and ask questions and take questions rather and answer questions that you have. So if you have questions you want to raise your hand, use the raise hand icon. I'd ask you to unmute and speak, or you can simply drop your question into the chat. So I'm seeing a question from Samsung who is saying, I'm currently working in supply chain, but I would like to acquire knowledge in supply chain analytics so I could switch to supply chain analyst roles. Can any of your program help me in this regard? Now, what I always advise Samsung is there are different ways you can transition. And I'll give you an example. I've worked across 5 different sectors: sports, educational technology, energy, that's oil and gas and power. And I've worked in automobile and financial services. Now, how did I transition? And that's where all the skills you learn. Let's take, for example, as a data analyst, you learn Excel, you learn Power BI, SQL, Tableau, problem solving, ChatGPT, Microsoft Fabric. You learn all those amazing skills. And you want to move from one sector or one industry into another. All you have to do is learn about that industry. Okay, your skills remain your skills, and you take those skills into the new industry you are moving into. So what does that mean? You have supply chain analytics experience. All you have to do is add data analytics to your supply chain knowledge. And then you have a combination of supply chain analytics, because you are a subject matter expert already. You have the functional and the practical experience within the space. What you'll be learning is how to use data to solve problems within those areas. We have projects that are tailored towards supply chain, logistic projects that would help you build your skills and different internship projects within that space. So that's the advice I'd give to you, Samsung. Add data analytics to the supply chain experience you have already as a professional within the space. Okay, let me see. Oh, Stephen. Stephen said, I didn't forget. I saw your email, Stephen. I'm not sure I've responded. So Stephen sent me a direct message. I'm not sure I've responded to your email, but I didn't forget you, Stephen. I'm responding to all my emails. I've been very busy this week. I'm responding to all my emails this weekend. So you get my feedback this weekend, Stephen. Let's take a question from Joel. So Joel, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I am very much interested in data engineering.
Okay.
And my first question is, given that the cloud platform you use is AWS, and in Nigeria, most organizations use Microsoft Azure. I would like to ask, how do we navigate that?
Right. So very good question. Now, not most organizations, because I've worked in Nigeria as well. A lot of organizations use Microsoft, they use Azure as their platform, but not most. The 2 examples I gave you, I talked about where the company was trying to recruit, and I know the company very well. They were specific on people who had AWS experience. Now, what usually happens is this: it's impossible for you to learn all the technologies, all right? But when you learn how to use AWS, you learn the fundamentals of cloud engineering. Adding Azure to your portfolio becomes a lot easier, okay? Now, it could be the other way. If the flip side could be that you learn using Azure or GCP, for example. And then you see jobs that requires AWS. So what happens in that regard? Okay, so what I always advise is 2 ways to solving the problem. Number one is there are companies that would require the skills that you need. Most of the time as professionals, we are always very conscious about the skills we don't have. And we look for those jobs that would require the skills we don't have. There are people, and I'll show you somebody very quickly, that have gotten jobs with just the understanding of Excel in business intelligence, a business intelligence role. And that's Uthman. Uthman, fresh out of the university, currently works as a business intelligence officer with the NHS. His assessments, and I know this because I worked with him personally, was 100% Excel. They did not request for any other tool apart from just Excel. So the way to solve it is your job application process. Don't focus on things you don't have. Focus on what you have and look for those jobs. The second would be that once you understand the different technologies, you understand the concepts and the fundamentals of cloud engineering, it's easy for you to pick up the other skill eventually, if you want to eventually, pivot to other technologies. But I'll tell you for a fact that for this particular role, they were looking for somebody who had AWS experience, and the company is in Nigeria. All right. So that's my response to your question, Joel. I don't know if that helps to answer your question. You're muted, Joel.
Yes, it did.
Right.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, please go, shoot.
Okay, so given that you run cohorts every month, and some of these courses require a lot of back and forth with the instructors and questions and the rest. So how do we navigate that too? Because you have to, when an instructor has lots of other people in the cohorts that is attending to. So how do you have that time to ask personal questions so that you can be carried along?
All right, very good question. So that takes me into, I'm going to show you what the platform looks like. So if I get your question correctly, the concern is how do you get a personalized approach to solving your problems, your specific problem, all right? So first of all, like I mentioned, for your data engineering program, you have somebody whose job is to work with you to solve your problem full-time. That's their responsibility. They're going to work with you on Saturday, work with you on Sunday. You have your live classes. So let's assume, Joel, that I'm your facilitator, I'm your trainer. Every Saturday you see me, every Sunday you're going to see me. Now, it's possible that sometimes you'd learn some concepts and you don't get all that concept at once in a class. So let's assume we have a class on Saturday and you still have some problems. You've tried something, everybody tried it in class, they did not get it. For those that don't get stuff in class, what we do is share your screen, let's see what you have, and would use your own screen as a way to solve other people's problems, similar problems that they have, all right? But let's assume for some reason it's still not working. We have something we call the drop-in sessions, okay? What are drop-in sessions? Drop-in sessions happen during the week, Monday to Friday, at least twice between Monday to Friday. So Joel has a problem. It's a personal problem that he wants somebody to sit down with him to look and address that problem. Now, the drop-in sessions happen in the evenings, where we believe if you work 9 to 5, you are back from work, and your facilitator would also work with you to fix that time. So let's take, for example, the drop-in session happens on a Tuesday. You'd find yourself in a session with maybe just about 2 to 3 more people who have problems like yourself, and you can engage your trainer on a one-to-one basis. And this is outside class on Saturday and Sunday. This is during the week. You'd have these drop-in sessions twice. Okay. Now, you also find yourself in a group. We put you in study groups. And these study groups You get to work together on projects, on assignments, and share ideas. All right. So one area you might not understand very well, a group member would understand and be able to put you through that particular problem or issue that you have. But with the classes you have on Saturdays and Sundays, your drop-in sessions, and we have something we call the prep time. Prep time is a time we set up in your classroom for you to jump on a call at your own convenience and get to study with your other group members if you want to do that. All right, that's optional to you. But you have a problem you want to solve and you need that personal touch, you have your drop-in sessions. And I'll quickly show you what that looks like, Joel. All right, because again, like I mentioned, myself and Efemena, in setting up Tenalytics, we have been in the industry with a combined experience of over 20 years. And we've also seen major gaps that other platforms would never address. Number one, you have gaps across technical assistance, okay? I've been on all the platforms you can imagine, from Coursera to Udemy to Udacity. That gap exists, all right? Number one is you have a problem. How do you solve that problem? How do you talk to a human being, an individual, to help you solve the problem? It's one of the things we've been able to crack in class. Secondly is the ability to transition and get a job. So you join a lot of all these platforms, you learn all the skill. What next after that? You need to get a job. So how do you get the job? And that's where we also come in to show you, and we've cracked that code on providing those other additional services to helping you do that. So what I'm going to do, Joel, is to quickly show you the data engineering cohort that started this August, all right? The data engineering for the August cohort, they started on the 5th of August, just a few weeks ago. So this is what the classroom looks like, okay? So you have the stream is where you have all the announcements of the class. Your class coordinator would send announcements from time to time. But the classwork is where you have all your materials. Now, you have an interview, you don't have an interview. You can schedule an interview with your trainer. Okay, so this is just a session for you to have a session. You want a one-on-one, for example, it's a personal problem in the office. You want to speak to a professional. All you have to do is, I'm just going to maximize this a bit. You come to schedule your interview. You click on this, all right? You click on the link, and then it takes you into where you choose a date. For example, let's assume I want to have that meeting on Monday. I click on Monday. I select the time that is, appropriate for me. Maybe I choose 7 p.m. because I would have been back from work by then. I click on 7 p.m., click on next, enter my name, my email, and the details of what I want to talk about. And I schedule my event. This goes into your email as a calendar invite. It also gets into your facilitator's email, and they prepare to have a conversation with you. So you have this support available, and I'm just going to scroll down. We have something called the 90 days of consistency, which is also an accountability project. So as you are joining, you're going to make a public declaration. Of course, we're not going to, compel you to do it if you don't want to, but it's to your advantage in the sense that you create a public declaration that you are embarking on a 90 days journey of data engineering. So you learn something today. Maybe you didn't know the 5 V's of big data. You've learned it. Day one, I learned the 5 V's of big data. It is volume, velocity, veracity. You talk about all the things you've learned. Day two, I've learned that you don't just have Azure, you also have AWS, you have GCP. You talk about all the things you've learned. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down to the very, beginning where you have your welcome kit. And like I mentioned, the welcome kit is what you receive. You get into the platform when you make payment. The welcome kit contains all the things. I'm just going to open it so you have a look and see what it looks like. So you have the welcome kit where you're going to watch a video from myself and Efemena welcoming you into the program. And of course, all the things you would learn what you need to, the details of all the classes you're going to have. You have your lesson plan, when class would start. This class started on the 5th of August, about 2 weeks ago, Saturday, more than 2 weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago. So you see your lesson plan, when class starts, when class ends, and you have all the details that you need. What you also need to download and install, you have them here as well. How to download and install PostgreSQL, Anaconda, how to set up your GitHub account, and every other thing you need would also be provided to you on your platform, just like you can see in here. Okay, now your first class, Introduction to Data Engineering. And this is what makes learning with Tenalytics super amazing. You don't miss anything. So let's assume you miss a class. Joel is busy on a Sunday. He joined Saturday, he missed Sunday, and he's bothered that, oh, I'm going to miss out on a lot of things and I won't have anybody to help me eventually. Now you have the class recording, right? Every class is recorded. So if you miss the live class, you have the class recording. So you get to see the interactions, everything that happened in class in the class recording, all right? Now, let's assume you've watched the class recording and then you still have issues. And that's where you now send a message to your WhatsApp group. There's the WhatsApp group link where you join the group, and then you get to interact with your trainer, your facilitator, and you also can set up a drop-in session during the week with your trainer. So that's the Data Engineering Class 1. Python Basics, where you talk about data types, data structure, the introduction to Python. You have that as well. So if you miss the class, you also have the class recording for that. You have a Watch Me Do It video for your Python, where you'd learn about integers and floats and all of these things. And I'm just going to move up a bit. Excuse me. You have assignments. And this is something that you would always get, assignments and projects, all right? Assignments and projects would help you do what? Build the practicability of the things you are learning in class. So you can test yourself if you're actually learning or not. And this is the drop-in session I'm talking about, Joel. Okay, so the drop-in session, which is also recorded, because the problem you have could also be a problem somebody else would also have in the future. So you have a problem in class, you want to have an interaction with your trainer, you have your drop-in session during the week, in the evenings, when we believe that you would have wrapped up from work, you're back home, and so on and so forth. You have your first mentorship session. It's also recorded just in case you miss the live session. You have your CV review session, Python Basic 2, Python functions, comparison. So you have all of this, week 2 assignment, week 2 drop-in sessions, mentorship session 2. So you have everything in here for you. This is your repository. If you miss anything, all you have to do is come here and then you have access to whatever you need. So you have a multi-layered support system, all right? A multi-layered support system. You have your class coordinator, you have your class facilitator, you get to interact with them, you can join your drop-in sessions, you can also schedule sessions where you can interact with your facilitator by using the link you have in your classroom. So this is data engineering. Okay, I'm just quickly going to go to one more program and then I'll come back to take more questions. All right, so let's see the data analytics. For the data analytics program, we have 2 time zones to fit into the schedule or the time zone of different people in different locations. All right, you have people in Ghana, Nigeria, the UK, around the same time zone. So you have a class that is specific and tailored to their time zone. You have people in the US, in Canada, North America, basically. You have another time zone that fits into their own class. So you have 2 classes, and let's see the one for EU, which is 1 time zone, North America as well. So I'd open data analytics, and you'd see some of the projects that you'd work on in the data analytics program, all right? Again, this is data analytics. If I click on people, you'd see the number of people in the data analytics program. So the data analytics class for August, all right, for those in the same time zone as West Africa time. So the UK, across Europe, Nigeria, Ghana, Africa. We have 75 people in this class, right? 75 students. And then in North America, we have another 40-something, which is well over 100 people across the different programs, right? And let's see some of the projects that they've worked on or they are working on so far. And of course, you also have the opportunity to book interview sessions. But let's go to see the projects they've worked on within the space of about 3 weeks. So you have your onboarding materials. You have a session to onboard you into the program once you make payment, to show you how do you navigate this platform, how do you know where to find your timetable, your class materials, and all of that. Your first class is problem solving, all right? Again, if you missed the class, all you have to do is come here, you see the class slides, you see the class recording. If you look at the slide, for example, and this is where we always tell people that all our programs are beginner friendly. You don't need any experience. We actually want to work with you without any experience. And that's where the most impact is made eventually. So this class was taken by Nene, all right, who is a strategic planning professional, works with Zelos in the UK. Zelos is a licensee of Nike. She's worked with KPMG, Bank of America, the biggest companies you can think of. The very first thing you'd work on during your problem-solving class is what? What is data? All right, what is data? That's the very first question. So you're not going into any complex, concepts that would confuse you. You start with what is data, you move to types of data, what is data analytics, types of data analytics. You talk about all those things to help build your foundational knowledge on what you are going into eventually. And of course, if you miss the class as well, you have the recording. All you have to do is click on the link. It takes you into the class recording. And let's look at one case study that they've worked on so far. Let's see, they've started their Power BI. So let's see Excel, right? Let's look at this case study on Excel. This is let me see. Okay, they've just had their second Excel class. Let's see the first Excel class. And let's see what they worked on their very first Excel class, all right? So Excel live class 1. And of course, they worked on a case study for a vehicle dealership in North London. So your program is not designed for you to just write if function, write the sum function. No, you are working using those different tools, functions you've learned in Excel to do what? Solve real world problems. Okay, so this is the very case study you're going to work on. You have your task. This is where you download your data sets. And of course, you also have an assignment after that. Every single class has a case study. Okay, so this is just an example of what the platform looks like. This is the group lists. Like I mentioned, you get to work together in groups, working on projects and assignments, which would improve your project collaboration skills eventually. All right, you have CV templates, CV sessions you're going to have to help, prepare you for what is out there. All right, so this is the platform typically. And of course, you'd see all the different classes that we have here. You have the Power Platform, the business analysis, EU and North America, HR analytics, data engineering, financial analytics, and all the different programs from January till date, from 2020 till date, actually. All right. So I'm just going to stop sharing once more and take questions if there are still questions we have. Will there be discounts for those planning to start in October? The answer is no, Kamaru. What we always advise is if you want, you can defer your program to October to November. If you pay today, you can defer 2 months into the future. So let's assume, Kamaru, you want to be a part of the program in October, but you want to take advantage of the discount in August for the September cohort. Make your payment and defer your program to October. All right. That's how you can do that. Tony Albert is asking, I'm a computer engineer. Can data engineer be useful for me? Absolutely. Like I mentioned, all the programs we offer are hinged on 3 key criteria. The first one is easy to learn, easy to transition, and easy to get a job. Of course, any skill that would help you transition and help you get a good paying job is useful to anybody, right? Yeah, Kamaru says fantastic. So Kamaru, I'm going to show you what you need to do. For those who might want to pay and join later, maybe in October or sometime in November, you can defer your program. All you have to do is, when you click on the link, Kamaru, and you've made your payments using any of the payment channels that we provided, this is what you need to do, all right? Go to the place where you need to upload your payment receipts. So let's assume you've made payments. Go to where you need to upload your payment receipts. Click on that, and it will take you to where you register, okay? When you register, you get to a particular point that would request for you to indicate when you want to start. So I need to fill the form to actually get to that point. It's about a page after this. So when you get to where you need to, select when you want to start. Instead of selecting 2nd of September, select the date for October. With that, we get the details and we prepare you ahead of the next program starting in October. So we have the next program in October, November. We have another one starting in December. But the amazing thing about the program starting in September is, irrespective of the program you join, you get to complete your learning and your internship before the end of the year. So at the beginning of the year, we had lofty resolutions, New Year resolutions. I want to get into tech. I want to learn a new skill. If that's still one of the things you want to do, September provides the opportunity for you to start and learn any of these skills to transition, get a job, even before the end of the year. So if you start in September, by early December, you are wrapping up your program, your internship, irrespective of the program you join with us at Tenalytics. But of course, if September is busy for you, you want October, you can always move the program into October or November, still taking advantage of the discounts. I'm not sure there are any more questions in the chat that I haven't answered yet. The duration for data analytics is 4 months. 4 months, right? You learn in class, 3 months project-based classes, and then you have 1 month internship to make it 4 months. Okay, so the 1 month internship is what gives you all the to build your portfolio, right? The projects you're going to showcase to recruiters, that's when you get to build those projects. You collaborate to also work with other professionals. I'm going to quickly show you the project we are working on for a startup here in the UK. It's a project that our data analyst and our HR analyst are working on together. I'll show you the project, and I think we'll call it a day after that. We call it the Project X. It's called the Project X, and that's because it's a project for a real-life company. We are providing solutions for them, all right? So Internship Project X, that's the project. So it's a project whereby a company in the education industry want us to solve a problem for them, all right? They want us to solve a problem for them. So our participants are currently working on this project. The data analytics, the HR analysts, they're working on this, and it's an amazing project. And it's a fantastic project for your portfolio because it's a real life company currently experiencing problems. So what we do is we have weekly meetings. Okay, we have weekly meetings where they get to meet with me every week. We look at what they've done and help them address some of the issues that they have with regards to the project. So we had an internship drop-in session with myself, with Adeza. We had a meeting where we'd look at what they've done, what the problems they're facing, and how to address those problems. Oh, Steven, your hand is up. Sorry. I think I'll take 2 more questions, and then I'll take God's time, and then I'll take Steven. and would call it a day. So, oh my goodness, I think I dropped God's time. So God's time, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Go ahead and ask your question, and then I'll come to Stephen.
Okay, thank you, Jesse, for a very beautiful presentation. I have two questions. The first one is, if I start this 2nd of September with Nigeria group, and by end of September, I'm traveling to Canada for a visit, can I join the North American group to continue with my lectures? Or
Absolutely.
I'm also, hello?
Go ahead. Let me allow you finish.
Wake up 5 hours before, the time difference between Canada and Nigeria. So I want to get that right. That is one. Then my second question is, are there specific technological tools requirements? For example, must I have a laptop to do business analysis, for example, or I can do it on my Android phone or an iPhone? Are there specific tools requirements that I must prepare myself for? Thank you.
Right, very good question, God's time. So first of all, yes, the answer to your question, if you are traveling, you're currently on a particular time zone in Nigeria, but during the duration of your program, or during your program rather, you'll be moving to Canada. Can you switch to another class that offers, a more conducive time zone? Absolutely, you can. You can easily move. All you have to do is just let us know. You'd have a class coordinator. Just let your class coordinator know, and they would arrange that for you. Sorry, excuse me. So that's the answer to that. The second question, you need a laptop. That's your number one tool. All right. You need a laptop to be in any of the program. That's your tool, basically. So you need a laptop where you get to install all the tools you'd use. Even as a business analyst, you're going to use Jira, right, to track your projects, to track project tasks and activities. You're going to use Draw.io. You're going to do that on your computer. You'd learn Excel, Power BI, SQL, the data analytics, bit of business analysis. All those applications, you cannot use them on your mobile phone. So you need a laptop for this. You don't need a high-end laptop. That's what people always ask. Do I need a high-end laptop? The answer is no. If you have an entry-level laptop that has 8 gigabytes RAM, 256 gigabytes ROM SSD, or a Core i5, that's pretty much okay for you to use. All right. Or you have a good desktop in your home, you want to use that, fantastic. But you need a computer to be in any of the programs. All right. I hope I answered your questions. God's time. I'll take the last question for today, which is from Stephen. Stephen, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good morning, Adeze, from my end here. And then thank you for the beautiful presentation. Honestly, you overwhelmed me with your presentation. But however, I've got 3 questions, but one has been answered, so I have 2 left. And so the first question is, yesterday I was privileged to listen to a session from Ten Analytics. Okay. And it was actually on a Power App. Okay. And now today you are talking about Power Platform. Are they the same or they are different? Okay. That's my first question. Then the second question is, I honestly, because of my interest, I would want to sell this to another friend who I couldn't call to join, after I started listening to you, but I would want him to listen to a session like this too. And I'm very sure he would want to join. So this session that you've done today, is it recorded for me to forward to him to listen to? Or there's another session that'll be coming up that I can send a link to him for him to join? Because I'm pretty sure he is a friend of mine. He is in Nigeria. He's supposed to relocate to UK, but he has this fear that when I come to UK and I don't get a job, what do I, So, and I told him, even from Nigeria, you can secure a job in UK, and then that might facilitate your coming down. He has the right to stay and work in UK, but he's just scared of, this, like you said, the people you mix with would determine the level you are going to go. Some people will tell you, oh no, it's only this kind of job you can do. And some will tell you, look, your potentials are just so high, you can get any kind of job you want. So Anna have been encouraging him that when you come to UK, you can actually get a professional job rather than, what everybody knows, like a carer job, of course, which is, I'm not like debasing a carer job is fantastic, but then, he has that fear, and I want to introduce him to, this professional platform. Thank you.
All right, fantastic question, Stephen. I'll start with your second question. Yes, the session is recorded. Like I always advise, the best way to ensure that you get the recording is to fill the attendance form. All right. Now, if you fill the attendance form, you're going to get the recording, you get the slides, you get all the materials. If you are in any of our WhatsApp groups for the master classes, you would also get the recording, you get the slides. If you received an email from us to be a part of this session, you're going to get the recording, you get the slides. Okay, so it will be shared with everyone. If you fill the attendance, which is most important, you definitely get the recording and all the materials we've used in today's session. And just to buttress what you said, I get that all the time. Oh, I can't leave my job in Nigeria. I had a conversation with somebody like that in January. Okay, he works with one of the banks in Nigeria, one of the top banks in Nigeria, and we had a chat, a brief Zoom meeting, and he was asking me that, do you think I should leave my job? Because I think I'm highly paid in Nigeria, and I'm scared of, what if I don't get a job when I get into the UK and so on. And I asked him, how much are you earning? And he said 450,000. And I was like, guy, just leave that job and come to the UK. All right. He joined our program, completed the data analytics program, and today he works as a data analyst, contract jobs. Because just like your friend, he also has the right to stay and work here in the UK. He has his ILR. So today he earns about, if I remember correctly, between 350 to 500 pounds per day. So the money he used to earn in a month, 450,000, that he thought was a lot of money, he earns between 350 to 500 pounds per day as a data analyst. And people always ask the question, is that possible to earn that much? Absolutely. So all you need to do, we've had so many sessions on applying to jobs, how to transition from tier 4 to tier 2 visas, and so on and so forth. They're on YouTube. All right. All you have to do, go on YouTube, search Tenalytics, and then you get to watch a couple of those videos and see how you can also apply to jobs like that. The first thing is to get the skills, because without the skills, you really can't do anything. So, Stephen, you'll get the link, you get the link to the recording, the materials to send to your friend, and encourage him, all right, to take that leap. Nobody knows, nobody has any certainty to anything that, oh, this is what would happen. Everybody did it afraid. Myself too. You have to take a chance, on yourself and believe in yourself, like Sheol said earlier. Now, yesterday, the session on Power Apps, when you look at Power Platform, just like the name implies, so let me show you this very quickly. All right. And I'm going to go online to show you. Power Platform is a Microsoft platform that comprises of 4 different applications. The Power Apps you saw yesterday is one out of the 4 applications in Power Platform. So you have the Power Apps, the Power Automate, the Power Virtual Agent, and Power BI. And I'm just quickly going to show you. All right. So I'm going to search for Power Platform. All right. So I'm showing you this so you can, do it yourself. So search for Power Platform, and I'm going to click on an image. I want an image that would show me. Okay, so let me click on this. Sorry, I didn't want to come here. Anyways, this is what I'll do. So if you can see my screen, I don't know if you can see it clearly, Stephen. It's a bit, I don't know how I can maximize this. All right, but if you can see my screen, you'd see the Microsoft Power Platform. You have the Power BI, you have the Power Apps, the Power Automate, and the Power Virtual Agent. Now you have the Dataverse, which is simply, it's like a data, it's a database within the Microsoft ecosystem. You have the AI Builder, which is also part of what you learn. I'll go back to the platform to show you the slides. The AI Builder is also part of what you learn how to use, which helps you embed AI into the applications you'll be building. And then you have your data connectors to connect to different data sources, the Dataverse, and so on and so forth within the Power Platform environment, within the Microsoft environment, not just the Power Platform. So like I mentioned, you have Power BI. A lot of people know Power BI, all right, for business, intelligence, data analytics, and so on. The Power Apps you saw yesterday is used to build applications from the Power Platform, one of the tools in the Power Platform. You have the Power Automate to automate processes, and the Power Virtual Agents to create chatbots that also have AI-enabled capabilities. All right, so that's simply what the Power Platform is. I hope you understand it, a lot better now. So Power App is simply one tool inside the Power Platform. Okay, I think I answered that question. All right, so I think I've pretty much answered all the questions. So again, for those of your friends, your colleagues, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, your family members that you think can benefit from this, just follow us across all our platforms. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, most especially, because that's where you'd see a lot of the work that people are doing, that the people that have joined our program, what they're doing, you'd see them on LinkedIn. Check us out on our website. Our website is tenalytics.io. It's across all the slides you're going to get. Follow us so that you have access to numerous other sessions we're going to have, okay? Because we're going to have a lot more. And once you've been a part of our program, we're going to invite you to the other programs that we have. Can you pay via transfer to any of the accounts? Absolutely, Obianuju. Nigerians love to transfer a lot. So that's why we have the option for transfer as well. All right, so we have our Fidelity Bank account. You can transfer to any of the accounts. Once you transfer, all you have to do, Obianuju, two things, one of the two that you have to do. If the easiest for you is to send us a message to any of these numbers. I've made payments. This is the evidence of my payments. All right, we confirm your payments and we give you the form to fill. We have all your details and you are a part of the program. All right, that's the easiest way for you to do, for you to go about that once you make payments. Or you can simply still use the same link we have provided to you. All right, and how do you use that link? All you have to do is go to where you have the enrollment details and click on what? Upload your receipts. All right, so if you've done a transfer, just take a proof of the payment you've made, come to upload your receipts, fill the form, we'll receive all the details and you become a part of the program. We're going to end it here today because it's been a long day spent. All right, thank you very much for spending your wonderful Saturday. Sunday by my time here in the UK is 1:34. And for those who are still up at this time in Nigeria or across South Africa, I think somebody joined from South Africa. I would like to say a big thank you for spending time with us today. And like I always say, the moment you decide you want to get into tech, because some of you would not get into it today, you might not get into it in the next month, but know that when it comes to providing tech skills and helping people get jobs in the tech ecosystem, there's no better place to go to than Tenalytics. Share the message. We'll keep on putting the word out there. I always wish there was somebody always on my neck telling me to transition over 10 years ago. I figured things out myself in a very, very hard way. It took me more than a year to transition. And all that experience between myself, between Efemena and other industry experts, we've designed an approach to make it a lot more seamless for so many other people to make the transition. We don't want to see only Indians holding these roles anymore. We need to see people that look like myself, the dark-skinned, light-skinned Africans, people of the Black community holding these roles, tech talents springing from Africa, holding roles across the major economies across the globe. Thank you very much, Stephen, Tony Albert, and every other person that stayed. Stephen is in Kuwait. Stephen, I'm going to respond to your email and we'll get started with the work that you have. Thank you very much, guys. Have an amazing weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. Sunday should be more relaxed. Enjoy Sunday and have an amazing weekend and a productive week ahead. Cheers, everybody.